I am a new beyond by you. I knew Jews of Yahudah smooth. Rock like pistol P with a blaster tool consume. Flesh wounds moves to the tomb. War clouds never bow down. Only rain rapid fire and rise us. Mind high moves smoking. I'm the chosen. Fake smooth like snakes get frozen. Blink of dot been folded. The omen for roaming. Mouth foaming. Vampire in like empire hat. Grim like Stoker. Universal soldier, hunt for the knowing, I'm glowing, man of arms, remain calm, bomb, chop swords like a kid with the golden arm. Fire pipe, llama technique, break speakers, this a triple feature, niggas reaching like cold black reach, holding the nigga Bible, Reverend idol, we lost. I knew beyond by you. I knew Jews of Yahudah we move smooth. Rock like pistol P with a blasting tool consume. Flesh wounds to the tomb. War clouds never bow down. Only rain rapid fire and rise us. Mind high move spoken. I'm the chosen. Fake smooth like snakes get frozen. Blink of God men folded. The omen for roaming. Mouth foaming. Vampire in like empire hat. Grim like Stoker. Universal soldier, hunt for the knowing, I'm glowing, man of arms, remain calm, bomb, chop swords like kid with the golden arm. Fire pipe me, llama technique, break speakers, this a triple feature, niggas reaching like cold black reach, holding a nigga Bible, Reverend idol, we lost Torah knowledge of our fathers, Abba Nabba, Yahweh, Allah Hayah, my team supreme, 9 ether, venom beam. Use 5 senses, yeah, I be the 6. My lyrics sick beyond syphilis. I crush dark Sith with Yoda force, holding the torch, walking over corpses like Arius. Red pill Morpheus, mushrooms metamorphic, mind cocoon, orbit like Norbit. Planned parent, abortion, murk, y'all's chosen children, prognosticated verses reach the surface. I see evil in the mix, the church see waiters abominable this abyss, and WO trying to infiltrate the righteous with his demonics. I got you open, so don't worry, I'm the chosen. I see evil in the mix, the church see waiters abominable this abyss, and WO trying to infiltrate the righteous with his demonics. I got you open, so don't worry, I'm the chosen. Devils turn mind to stone in the coma, a sunken place, no escape. Baiting hotel, hell for Norman. My brain storming, killer bees swarming. Watch those talk too much informant. Smoke like Joe, hit hard like Foreman. Numa torment, Opticon light, Kuma Kente, tournament. I point in his strength like Itana. Focus on subjects, the Lama priest, quantum leap, NEB. I remain discreet, so those can't see beyond 3D. Visions from the MIND. View living evil, vampire interview. Fuck up peer review. The truth need no rules. Show improve as I blast petty fools with get busy tools. Airing them out, making room for Judas Bloom. Body of rappers like a boom. I see evil in the mix. The church see waiters abominable this abyss, and WO trying to infiltrate the righteous with his demonics. I got you open, so don't worry, I'm the chosen. I see evil in the mix. The church see waiters abominable this abyss, and WO trying to infiltrate the righteous with his demonics. I got you open, so don't worry, I'm the chosen.
Everybody, I know, Napah, you got to get your tech down. I'm working on it. But peace, assalamu alaikum, hotep, namaste, Jumbo. Let me turn on my camera. Ooh, Lord. Ashe. What else? Shalom. All the greetings of love and light to the darkest minds of the light. I am NapahShadah. And thank you for tuning in. My camera might, I don't know. Okay. Anyway. So let's see here. We are here. Everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to see Mighty Hebrew, break it down, teach. Hit that like button. You know he's in Tanzania, Africa. So he's in, he's out, he's working with the whatever limited tower network, whatever they have out there, but he will be back. I promise that you will have a very enlightening, interesting, and educating and educational and entertaining show. So thank you for coming over here from Sonnetter's channel. Let's see. I want to check in with the people in the chat now that I have a little time while we wait for him to come back. Half Squat says Barakacha. Oh, Barakacha from Veracocha. Okay. Peace, everybody. I think he's back. I think we got him. Wow. Nice picture, Half Squat. Are you there? Can you hear me, brother? Prince Charlandine? Mighty Hebrew? If you're talking, we cannot hear you. You are muted. Unmute yourself. Are you there? Keys to Control, Alt, Delete. I like that one. The song is nice, right? That was Mighty Hebrew,
hey,
one of his.
Can you hear me?
One of his productions. I see your avatar moving that you're speaking, but I don't hear him. Do you guys hear him?
Can you hear me?
You know what? It might be my side. It might be on my end. This
okay.
is wild.
Can you hear me?
Hold on, y'all.
Okay, can you hear me?
End.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah, it is my end. I'm telling you. I could hear you, Mighty Hebrew. Well,
can you hear me now?
It's not you, it's me.
Okay,
so this is what I'm going to do quickly. I cannot. Everybody hears you just fine. I just want to welcome you on. Let you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit because now I'm having to work out this StreamYard audio is weird. But I know you can hear me and I know everybody can hear. I can hear you. You can hear me. Wait, scratch that. Let me just fix my tech. Go ahead and introduce yourself, brother. Let them know what you're going to be bringing. Talk about the song first off. That was a fire, awesome song. Talk about the song I just played. What inspired you to write it? And I will be right back. So just hold it down. Hold it down.
It is. It's like you're in it. It's like you're in and out. Me? Can you hear me? You can't.
Yes,
right,
I can hear you just fine. I'm working out this audio situation.
Right.
So
I don't
just go
even
ahead
know
and
if the
introduce
people
yourself.
can hear me because I'm asking you, can you hear me? Can you? Okay. First and foremost, I give all praise and honor to Yahuwah, the supreme, intelligent, powerful, one of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, those striving for righteousness' sake. I say into the family, Shalom Aleichem. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be here today, Yisrael. Yeah, that right there, that song you just heard is off my new album, my third album called War Cloud. The name of the song is called Evil. Yeah, War Cloud is what it is. Like my first album is Mind Mental is Never Destroyed. Then my second album is Journey to the Dark Side of the Moon. And then my third album here, War Cloud. You can go get my albums, Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple. It don't matter. It's all over the world. You can get my music. But yeah, Word Cloud was like everything I seen going on in the world. So I just, put it all together in an album form. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like sometimes when you like artistic, sometimes things got to be more expressed, through music. So I was like, I was seeing a bunch of stuff going on in Israel, around the world, here in Africa, the United States, in 2024 is like the year of truth being revealed and those in retrospect being exposed. So it was like Word Cloud came right on time. So that song right there was evil. During the presentation, during the PowerPoint presentation, I will, or Sister Napah, let y'all hear a couple more tracks off the album. But the album is dope, real hip hop. Shout out to my producers, DJ Los, the famous DJ Los from out of Detroit, Michigan, Lord Melchizedek from out of Tacoma, Washington, the famous Afro beats maker, Wise Mad, also known as the Sith Lord, over here in Tanzania, East Africa, and also Chief Kantal out of Tanzania, East Africa. Also, shout out to my mentors, Killer Priest and Hellraiser. They definitely was like an inspiration of pushing me to come out with an album because I was featuring on a lot of, tracks. And also, a lot of people don't know, I was a part of Killer Priest's group that he brought out called G-Cyples back in like 2007, from like 2007 to 2010. So, it was like I was featuring on stuff. But Killer Priest was like, yo, man, you need to like come out with an album. So I'm like, all right, I'll come out with an album. And, that's when the making of mine, came into effect. So I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Sister Napah? I'm trying to see if Sister Napah can hear me. I don't even know if the listening audience can hear me, but let me see. I'm gonna see if y'all can hear me real quick. If y'all can hear me, give me a thumbs up or like a number one, because it's like technical difficulties on Sister Napah's side. So let me just see real quick. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, y'all can hear me. Cool. So they saying they can hear me, Sister Napah, but it's like with you, I can't hear you. But they saying they can hear me. They can hear me well. So that's a good thing. So I don't know how we're gonna do this because I really need to hear you and your feedback on the PowerPoint presentation. Can you make another StreamYard link? Or do I have to come in and come out? I mean, come out and come back in?
Oh, I was muted. I was muted. My bad. Oh, let me start over.
What happens?
Hold on. No. Let's do this. I got this. Oh, I was muted. I was muted.
Maybe I'll have to do that.
Give me a minute. Okay. I said great intro about the music. Sorry I was muted. I'm listening. I'm gonna fix my audio. Don't worry about that. But I do want you to come in, and I'm just gonna navigate through your slides. I can hear you just fine. For me to speak, I'm unmuted talking to you, but I can't hear you. But that's okay. Like I said, I can hear you from another device. I want you to come in and do what you said you're gonna do. Address the community about the misconceptions, misteaching about who we are and where we came from, right? Because I have your PDF that you sent me.
So I'm going to leave out.
I really don't have to do a lot of talking because you're going to be doing the talking, and you just let me know where you want me to go in the information. So I'm going to mute out and listen. See if everybody can hear you fine too, by the way. Well, I think he left, y'all. So I might have to do that. I don't know why it's something with the StreamYard. but he'll be back. And maybe it also has to do with him coming in from Africa. But we're going to do this because, you know, he is going to go in. Like I said, he's been teaching this a long time. He has a very unconventional take on cosmology, things that, you know, creation story. If we have to redo it, just like I said, I appreciate your patience. Let's see if when he comes back in. Yeah, it might be because he's coming in from Africa, but I don't know. I think it's the StreamYard. It keeps kicking him out. Okay, let's get him in here. All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mighty Hebrew? You're muted. I know I see you're muted, so I know I won't be able to hear you.
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hear you. I can hear you. There we go. Yeah.
Great. There's a lot of delay, but let's be patient because we're going to almost probably overtalk each other.
Right.
Did you hear me?
I can definitely hear you, though. Okay, now I'm going to say something. I want to, just like you have the show, you're going to address who we are, where we come from, clear up some confusion. Okay.
And all I'm going to do, because I know there's a long delay, but all I'm going to do is take your direction about where you want me to go on your information, and I don't have to do a lot of talking. But everybody can hear you just fine. Yeah, look at the comment. There's like a 5 to 10 second delay. So that's a long delay. But that's why I won't be doing a lot of talking anyway. You can present. If our wonderful, amazing, patient audience says we don't hear him, I will let you know. Okay? All right, so you can get started. What do you want me to queue up? You want me to queue up your PDF, your information?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I give all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, those striving for righteousness' sake all over the planet Earth. To all Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationals, I say into the family, Shalom Aleichem. Tonight, we're going to get into something I defined as understanding the emanated cycles of Adamic consciousness. Now, we as the children of Israel for a long period of time, you know, we've been coming into our culture and heritage as Hebrew Israelites. But within the process of coming into our culture, we've been coming into our culture with a lot of religiosity versus sovereign nationalism. And that has caused a lot of damage within the Hebrew Israelite consciously when it pertains to Torah instruction or Torah constitution. A lot of our understanding when we're dealing with cosmology, anthropology, sociology is coming with religious overtones by those Euro Gentiles or the Goam, or as they would say in Swahili, the Mozungu, put us in based on the captive mind state. So let's go to the book of Daniel first, as Sister Napah's pulling up my PowerPoint presentation, right? And I want to show you in the King James Version, Daniel chapter 12, verse 4. The mistranslation in the English reads as such. It reads, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." Now, that's the King James translation of the understanding of this particular verse. But the way we translated it amongst the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem and Dimona, Israel, northeastern Africa, it will read as this. But O Daniel, conceal or make vague the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge or of the concealed word shall be increased. So when you're talking about vague, something being vague, it's not clearly defined. So a lot of people take this verse and say, see, we in the last days, knowledge shall increase. But they don't understand that there were certain Hebrew words within that verse and in that specific chapter of Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, that wasn't translated. And one of them is the word vague in Hebrew. So a lot of brothers and sisters today are increasing in knowledge through social media outlets, but their knowledge is vague to such a point that they're not able to build edifices or institutions and structures. So before I move on, I want to read from out of this book real quick. It's called The Resurrection from Judgment to Post-Judgment by the late Ben Ami, right? And on page 16, he says something very profound. He says this. He talks about institutions of higher learning. Listen, he says this. Certainly, for one to manifest deception to such an extent, there would have to be institutions in place promoting and institutionalized deception and darkness. I coined the term called academia emboxment. And when you look at the world of the Black conscious community and many Israelites today, a lot of their paradigm is basically the parrot chirping. What the academia say? What is the academic consensus or what is being said? Not understanding the book of Daniel or Daniel tell us that during the time of the end, meaning the end of a world age, not the end of the world, but the end of a world age, that the Euro Gentile will be given a time and a half a time to rule. And how they're ruling? They're of higher learning. Let's continue on. The buildings are immaculate. The campuses are extensive. The equipment is state of the art. Instructors are plentiful and salaries are rewarding. These are all the lures to attract innocent souls to enter within her walls. They are called institutions of higher learning. They are the heartbeat and the pulse of the Euro-Gentile anti-Yahweh system. Definition, institute or institution. One, an elementary principle recognized as authoritative. So you have a group of people, remember, that put us in captivity, and now they're controlling the minds of men by institutions of higher learning, and they are recognized as authoritative. So this is why when you have free thinkers like Sister Napah, myself, and many others, one of the things that we are being labeled as is pseudo, because we can step out of the academic box, so to say, and challenge the institutions that have been established by the prophetic words of the book of Daniel. Remember, to destroy an institution, you have to build an institution. This is why I developed the Mighty Hebrew University. This is why I developed Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism, Hebrew cosmogenesis, Hebrew anthropogenesis, to challenge the social norm of academic emboxment that has caused our people to lay waist deep in the wilderness of North America, South America, and Central America, and all over the world. That's continued. Two, a collection of such principles, a significant practice, behavior, relationship in a society or culture. So before you were even born, you were given a preconceived notion of thought, so to say, a conundrum or a confusion of, of thoughts that are associated with those that put you in captivity. So remember the COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, which was systematically designed to stop the rise of a black messiah who will electrify the nationalistic aims of black America, correct? Okay, let's continue on. One of the salient points, or the 5 salient key points within the COINTELPRO papers, was to cause the youth within the organizations of these different revolutionary black nationalistic movements to look with disdain eyes at their leaders. Social media is an outlet of this. Like, let's use the situation what's going on right now with Sa-Neter. Everybody know what's going on. Regardless of anybody like it or not, he's a leader and a pillar in our community. And right now, there is a social media attack, false statements about his character, so those that are the upcoming future generations can look at him in disdain. Remember, J. Edgar Hoover said, we will never have a Messiah unless they give them to us. This is a part of the institution of higher learning. Napah just put up my second slide. I said the realization of truth is the ultimate weapon to manifest one's reality. The truth of the subject matter is the institutions of higher learning were systematically designed through an authoritative pen by the way of practice, culture, to born a certain behavior within the societal structure that we are in today. This is why we parrot chirp and say, what did this scholar say? What did that scholar say? To such a point that we ignore our original oral traditions. We look at that as something being, we don't know if it's true or not. This is why you have brothers and sisters bringing your Gentile scholars to challenge with our Yosef A.A. Ben Yokanai, Dr. Jacob Correttis, the late Prince Asiel Ben Yisrael, the late Ben Ami, the late Dr. John Henry Clark, the late Arnold Josiah Ford, Robbie Arnold Josiah Ford, the late Marcus Garvey, the late Denmark Vesey, etc., etc. Remember, these are all a part of the institutions of higher learning. Remember, when you go into these institutions, they are systematically designed to train you, not educate you. And this is no attack on anybody that go to institutions of higher learning. Agree, but remember, with the Ice Cube saying higher learning, when he spoke to Omar Epps, he asked him, what are you doing here? What did Ice Cube say? You need to be here to do what? To steal the information. The objective when we go to these institutions of higher learning is not to be trained, but to understand and learn from their paradigm to debunk it. If we're not doing that, then there's no need to be in the institutions. Continue on. 2, institutionalize. 1, to make or give the character of an institution. Institutions have character. This is why when these brothers and sisters, right, go to these colleges, whether you're talking about Yale, whether if you're talking about Harvard, or if you're talking about Oxford, there's a certain dimension of language or presenting yourself. You become more bourgeois. You become more separated from your peers or your sovereign peers because you have now become trained. So now we're going to get first into our divine self. We're going to get into our divine self because we are under the impression that we're just created just to worship a God outside of ourselves. That's the religious understanding of Hebrew Israelite culture. Why, when most non-Hebrew Israelites attack Israelites, they attack them based on a preconceived understanding of Hebrew Israelite thought based on the One West doctrine. So when they approach an Israelite, automatically they think in terms of that thought, not understanding the Hebrew Israelite culture and people have existed before One West. So that image that you seen that Sister Napah just passed was an image of a man and a woman in a various state as Elohim, right? From the cosmic or the celestial to the terrestrial. You see the invertible and you see the horizontal. This is known in Kabbalistic school of thought, or with our seers and Nabaim brought in the past, was known as the Sephirotic tree of life. It is symbolic to man and woman. The man is symbolic to the 6 points. We talk in sacred Hebraic cosmological geometry. So in this retrospect, you see the 6-pointed shield, which is symbolic to the original Ha-Adamic being known as Adam HaKakma, from the head to the torso, the penis representing the 6. Then you have the woman that's symbolic to the 5. So when you put that 6 and 5 together, or the 6 point and the 5 point, now you have the Sephirotic tree of life. Let's break it down in the symbiotic understanding of what we see in the world today, where we from. Peep it, y'all. You got the crypts, right? The crypt represent the 6, right? Then you got the blood. They represent the 5, right? Cool. Then you got the GD, or the gangster disciple. They represent the 6, right? Then you got the vice lords, right? They represent the 5. In most cases, Hebrew Israelites represent the 6. The more Science Temple of America represent the 5, right? So if the blood is separate, or the soul, right, then there is no manifestation of form. This is why it was imperative for the institutions of higher learning to keep us separated by these male and female arguments. This is why when you go to most Black conscious scholars, when I debated Polite, in his mind state, the Black woman is God and she self-impregnated herself. But when you understand duality, the masculine and the feminine came hand in hand at the same time. Ha-Adam, in the original Hebrew cosmological sense, was neither male nor female, but a neutral being that gave forth opposites of polarity. And then you get a split, Zohar Wa Niki Va, in Hebrew, male and female. He created he, them, and called their name Ha-Adam. Ha-Adam means the firstborn, or the first blood rising with outstretched arms facing the northern star. It doesn't mean man. The word man goes back to, or the English word man goes back to the Sanskrit word manu, which means to think or to be conscious. For I said, they are as gods, knowing good and evil correctly. They have become conscious. Because originally, Adam was dealing with instinctive will. We're going to get into this as we proceed on in this process of understanding Hebrew cosmology, and also Hebrew anthropology. Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide, Sister Napah, because I'm getting warmed up. I'm going to show you what true Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationalism is about. All Hebrews are not the same. And I'm purposely putting this PowerPoint up so when somebody approach me, they automatically now, if they watch this presentation, will have an understanding of how I think. Okay, go to the next slide, Sister Napah. I see you, Killer Priest. I see Killer Priest up in the building. Give a shout out to Killer Priest. I know that there's a little delay. So now you see the elders. Let me school y'all for a minute. A lot of y'all brothers and sisters on social media, y'all come on social media, y'all say y'all have knowledge, wisdom, understanding, etc., etc. But then when I say, well, where your elders at? Imagine a Shaolin monk. Imagine a man trying to be a Shaolin monk without the Shaolin temple and an abbot. Imagine a man, a samurai, without a sensei, right? Just imagine that. Imagine you trying to practice pugilism, but you don't have a Lama priest to teach you. The point that I'm saying is, I came into the culture 32 years ago by the way of elders. These elders that you've seen are personally my elders, not somebody I talk to on Facebook. As you can see, some of my master teachers here are the late Ben Ami. He is the force behind the anointed understanding of us leaving from America in 1967 and repatriating back to Africa, the headquarters, Dimona, Israel, northeastern Africa. You see my spiritual grandfather up here, the late Prince Asiel bin Yisrael, who everybody from the House of Consciousness, you know, the Black conscious community affectionately love. Prince Asiel was like one of the last links of that idea of true freedom and redemption. And me being his direct understudier, he passed that on to me. Then you see, and he was the international ambassador and prime minister of the Kingdom of R.I.S.E, centered in Dimona, Israel. Then you see sitting down right down, it's the late Prince Dr. Shaliat bin Yahuda, the founder and the original dean of the school Northeastern Africa. His stuff and others are the ones that inspired me, even with Sar Dr. Kazriel bin Yahuda, who also Sister Napah knows, who also Killer Priest knows, that I brought him on Killer Priest podcast. Active dean of the School of the Prophets Institute, gave me the inspiration to open up the Mighty Hebrew University to challenge what is academically known in our minds as sound reason, when in fact the institutions of so-called higher learning are destructive tools that are breaking us down, not only spiritually, but mechanically within the mind. We have here, because all these princes passed away except for one, the one that wrote The Impregnable People, who is also on Killer Priest podcast. That is Prince Gabriel, also known as Prince Gabriel Hagodor. And he is on the far left-hand side, but in the middle, the fourth person, next to the late Prince Asiel bin Yahuda. Shout out to Prince Gabriel. As a matter of fact, he's watching this presentation now. Shout out to my family all in Dimona, Israel. And this shout out to all those seeking understanding. Go to the next slide, Sister Napah. So I'm bringing forth my Zakwanim, my elders, so you can see my lineage. You see how I'm saying? That I'm not just coming up here, you know what I'm saying, just saying things out of my mouth. You have to have elders that is backing up your stance. Another thing I want to remind the people that we need to stop doing. Many of our elders are not here today. We still have a few of them left. We need to honor them. We need to respect them. And we need not make them in the public eye. We have to give proper, you know, reverence to our elders, even if there were some things they may have messed up. It's a way that we can critique our elders without them showing face in the public. You will never see Buddhist monks disrespecting their abbots publicly. Remember the COINTELPRO to stop the rise of a black messiah. Remember, an attitude was developed through the institutions of higher learning to cause you to think in terms like this. So your elders continue, as you see the late Prince Dr. Shaliah bin Yahuda, Dean of the School of the Prophets, or the original Dean of the School of the Prophets Institute, and Damona Yisrael, Northeastern Africa. We also see here the late Prince Asiel bin Shaliah bin Yisrael, the original international ambassador and prime minister of the Kingdom of Yah. And in the center, we see Rabbeinu Adonenu ben Ami bin Yisrael HaMoshiach, the anointed person. Is go to the next slide, that led us out of captivity. I'm over here based on the fact of these conscious minds that were able to plant the seed. And now through receiving knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, now I'm watering that seed. See, we have lost the application of knowledge. We are now what I call intellectual and functional illiterates. We become intellectual complainers, meaning we'll get all this knowledge and we'll put it on social media, but we still stay stagnated and we don't have ourselves moving forward and upward. That is the problem within our community. We sit back and talk about one to another, but then when we examine those that manifest this type of insane and satanic behavior, it's a standstill attitude. You have here Ben Ami bin Yisrael, 1939, the infinity. As you can see the 8 on the side representing infinity. Remember, even the creator's name, Yahweh, in Hebrew Grammatia comes up to 26. 2 plus 6 equals 8. That's that continuous nakas or serpentine fire manifesting endless cycles within cycles. You see what I'm saying? We're going to get into that next slide. Now let the games begin. Now we're going to get into it. So now we in the 7 root cycles, or the 7 root races of the terrestrial. This is where we at right now. Go to the next slide. So now there's this big argument within within conscious community that when you see the so-called 7 root races, because in the Sanskrit and in the Hebrew, which you know as the book of the book of Zion, right? They're actually called cycles. Now, when it was translated into races, it wasn't defining races in the sense of race, so to say. It was defined in the sense of an era. But I'm not going to say it. Let me go into the philosophical view of human races. And I have it right here. So people won't think, well, you're just making it up. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what it actually means. In an even more striking passage, H.P. Blavatsky says in The Secret Doctrine, if tomorrow the continent of Europe were to disappear and other lands to reemerge instead, and if the African tribes were to separate and scatter on the face of the earth, it is they who, about 100,000 years hence, will form the bulk of the civilized nations. And it is the descendants of those of our highly cultured nations who might have survived on some one island without any means of crossing the new seas that will fall back into a state of relative savagery. Thus, the reason given for dividing humanity into superior and inferior races falls to the ground in policy. According to this view, differences between races then are differences of historical function, having nothing to do with intrinsic superiority or inferiority. In this, perhaps, can be seen the chief divergence between the Darwinian theory of evolution and the theosophical. The former postulates an unbroken sequence of lineal development from simpler to more complex or higher forms of life, while the latter sees evolution as an impulse of conscious life to take on forms which fulfill its inner needs. So that right there destroys the concept of us talking about actual races, but we're talking about movement and function within cycles and seasons by the way of the Yuga cycles. And we want to get, and this is how we understand the Bereshit as I continue to build. So as you see the 7 root races of the terrestrial cosmic era, and there's 7. As you can see, you have the Polarian, the Polarian, the Hyperborean, the Lemurian, the Atlantean, the Aryan, the Indigo, etc., etc. So let's break this down in the sense of the Bereshit by the way of the Yuga cycle, and how we are able to understand this by the way of reading Bereshit, which is now called Genesis, the 1st chapter. Now, I know that we've been under the impression that each so-called day is a literal 24-hour a day. That is not what Yom or Yawam means in the symbiotic Hebrew archaic hieroglyph. Now, in the Assyrian Babylonian Masoretic thought that has come through Hellenism by the way of the abstract, Yom means day. But when you look at the Hebrew word Yom, you have a Yod and a Mem. In the symbiotic Hebraic hieroglyph, the Yod or the Yah is symbolic to an outstretched arm. That's what you see in the Ivrit. And then you have the Mem or the Ma, which you see water waves, right? So when you put that Yah in that Mem, it becomes Yom or Yawam, which manifests as the one that containeth life, or that which containeth life. So instead of reading it the first day, the second day, the third day, it should properly, by the way of Hebrew cosmological thought, and the first and the second containment of life, the third containment of life. So now when it's read in that retrospect, you're not talking 24 hours a day. You're coming into the first so-called day, 311 trillion, 40 billion years, to the 7th so-called day, 100,000 BCE. So let's read it from out of my book, my new book I'm working on called 311 trillion, 40 billion BCE to now. I say, we Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationals have no beginning nor ending. We are Elohim embodied in human form. We have a 311 trillion, 40 billion year history. It is now more practical for Hebrew Israelite to use the 4 Yuga cycles to study the Bereshit or the Genesis code inside Ha-Tanakh. The ancient Hebrew word Yom or Yawam means that which containeth life. In concrete Eastern Hebraic thought, in Greco-Roman Euro-Gentile abstract Western thought, Yawam or Yam is translated as day in an abstract sense, which has threw off our original understanding of our cycles and seasons. The correct way to see the first chapters of Bereshit chapter 1 by the way of Hebrew cosmogenesis and Hebrew anthropogenesis. First Yawam or Yam or day, Bereshit chapter 1 verses 1 to 5 within Torah constitution. On the abode of Yahweh Elohim, 100 years of Yahweh Elohim, life equals 311 trillion, 40 billion human years, or the passing of time on earth. Second Yam, Bereshit chapter 1 verses 6 to 8 within Torah constitution. This means 1 year of Yahweh Elohim time, which is 12 months or 360 days, equals 3,110,400,000,000 human years. Third Yawam, or Yam, day, Bereshit 1 verses 9 to 13 within Torah Constitution. This means 1 month of Yahweh Elohim time equals 259,200,000,000 human years. Fourth Yawam, or Yam, day, Bereshit chapter 1 verses 10 to 19 within Torah Constitution. This means 1 24-hour day of Yahweh Elohim time equals 8,640,000,000 human years. Fifth Yawam, Yam, or day, Bereshit chapter 1 verses 20 to 23 within Torah Constitution. This further means 1 hour of Yahweh Elohim time equals 360 million human years. Six Yawam, Yam, day, Bereshit 1:24 to 31 within Torah Constitution. This also means 1 minute of Yahweh Elohim time equals 6 million human years. Seventh Yawam, or Yam, day, Bereshit 2:1 to 4 within Torah Constitution. And to conclude, this means 1 second of Yahweh Elohim time equals 100,000 human years. Next slide. So when one understands why I'm using the Yuga cycle, as we're going to continue to read within the PowerPoint presentation, is because of my understanding of the origins of the original Hebrews. Academia will have us believe that the original Hebrews go back to a land called Ur in Mesopotamia. I beg to differ on that. I say yes, the Hebrews do go back to Ur, but which Ur is the question, because there were actually 2 lands of Ur within ancient times. Next slide, Sister Napah. The Ur that is being mentioned, right, in an academic sense, goes back between the 7th and the 9th century BCE. So we can't relate to that, so to say, because through our historical records here at the Mighty Hebrew University, Abraham would have been born 2166 BCE, 4th century BCE. So what Ur is being talked about or conveyed in Bereshit or Genesis 11? Well, historically, in the land known as Tamar Nudu, we have an Ur in the Indus Valley or southern India going back 7,500 BCE. And we're going to get into that through Eastern academia, because Eastern academia differs deeply more than what one thinks versus Western academia. And as you can see the 7 root cycles right here that I broke down within the Bereshit code, us coming from an Elohim etheric or etheric state to the physical substance that we see today. Within them, so-called existed, but our form was encapsulated to become one with the surrounding environment that we was in. So we existed. Remember, the true missing link, and I'm going to show that even in this presentation, is actually the mind. That is the missing link, not this so-called 8 man that don't exist no more, roughly 5 to 7 million BCE, that's supposed to have, or this common ancestor, excuse me, this common ancestor that man and beast have. But their common ancestor, by the way of Hebrew cosmogenesis, is the mind. Go to the next slide. So we're going to get into this as we continue to develop within this understanding of thought. So I want to read something out of the study course of the secret doctrine real quick, because I think this beautiful. So we at Adam and Lumeria, right? And I'm building first the esoteric understanding of Hebrew cosmogenesis, because when I get into Hebrew anthropogenesis, then that's where you're going to get all the archaeological references. Hebrew cosmogenesis is the study of cosmology and cosmology by the way of Hebraic thought. Hebrew anthropogenesis is the study of anthropology by the way of Hebraic thought. So let's read this on page 25 about human history, because a lot of people think human history can be understood linearly. We're going to get into that. People of Aboriginal thought or indigenous thought told their history circularly. It destroys the whole understanding of going into Western academia for your source of reference, because they tell their history linearly. That's proven. History can be viewed as either linear or cyclical, as in the diagram below. And that's what you see, the diagram below, right? So that's the diagram below, right? Let's continue on. Peeping, because this is deep. Okay, diagram below. A lineal view sees history as beginning at an identifiable point in the past and proceeding in a straight line to an accumulating point in the future. A cyclical view sees time as repeating the same or similar events in circular patterns, right? The Western view of history, whether sacred or secular, has been linear. So if we are the original people of the planet, why are we defining history linearly? See how it's easy to destroy this Western idea of research, because original people didn't perceive life like that. Okay, let's continue on. Watch this. The biblical view of history sees the world as beginning with an act of creation by God. Now, remember, it says the biblical view, not the actual historical view. A strict biblical view of history sees the world as beginning with the act of creation by God, then proceeding through the age of the patriarchs, the prophets, reaching the central point with the incarnation of Christ, and then continuing through the ages of the church to a final apocalyptic conclusion when the time will end. Similarly, the secular view of history is the growth of civilization with a quick glance at the cultures of the Nile and Mesopotamian valleys, and then settling down and honest with the Greek city-states, followed by the Roman Empire, the so-called Middle Ages, and growth of modern nations, the Enlightenment and Industrial Revolution finally accumulating in our society. Both of the Western view of history, sacred and secular, are limited. They ignore most of the peoples and cultures of the world to concentrate on a small section of societies and events which they naively and arrogantly regard as world history. Both views assume that all of history, at least all that counts, has label to bring forth our contemporary society. Both views are ethnocentric. Any history that tries to look at the whole of humanity on this planet rather than limiting itself to a particular tradition of a person writing the history cannot be linear. Human history and cultures are too common to fit into a simple linear pattern. I just destroyed Western academia right there. Okay? Our understanding is secular, but with a line so we can change pattern by the way of time and space and destiny, right? So we didn't view the world like that. The previous year, Adam Kakma of Lumeria, and we already explained the inverted on the horizontal. So now we had the root races and sub-root races. Now we're in what is known as antediluvian history. To understand post-diluvian history, when you read about the sons of Noah, you have to understand where they come from. So the third, you see 3.4, as you can see, is blank. Why? Because our bodies weren't fully coarse yet. So it was like, remember the book of Psalms, it said that our bodies were made out of glorious light. So you're talking about from the Elohim etheric state, transforming by the way of emanation into a solidified bodily structure. But in 3.4, it's not fully coarse yet. So as you can see 3.5, now you see the Negro. It says Lumerian. The original name is Tamanadu. And then when you drop down to 7, you see it blank, right? Why? Because it shifts over to Atlantean, 1, Romohu. Now, if you go into the Ife culture of West Africa, they talk about the Romohu, but it's pronounced different. But let's look at the description of the Romohus in the book Letters and Lost Lumeria by minor archaeologist W. Scott Elliott. So let's read the description of who the Romohus were and what they look like. Because a lot of people can say, well, who were the Romohus? You know what I mean? And this is the foundation of the Hebrew, from antediluvian coming into post-diluvian. See, I'm giving you your antediluvian history so you can understand post-diluvian. Okay? So let's get into the Romohus, shall we? Page 29. The Romoho race came into existence between 4 and 5 million years ago, at which period large portions of the great southern continent on the America still existed, while the continent of Patala, now called Atlantis, had not assumed the proportions it ultimately attained. It was upon a spur of this Tamanadu or Lumerian land that the Romoho race was born. So in this region, we're talking about the area today known as Madagascar, because Madagascar was connected to the body or a body of land that also was connected to Sumatra in the Indus Valley. This is why when we studied the flora and fauna of Madagascar, you could clearly see it's very similar to the Indus Valley or India. This is why you find lemurs in Madagascar. You also find lemurs in India. So there had to be some type of band for these travels back and forth from one land to another. That's people. It was upon the spur of this Lumerian land that the Romoho race was born. Roughly, it may be located at latitude 7 north and longitude 5 west, which a reference to any modern atlas will show to lie on the Ashanti coast of today. So, because this book was written in 1896. So when they talk about the Ashanti coast, they talk about Ghana, West Africa. Remember, recently, archaeologists just found portions of Atlantis, or so-called Atlantis, in Northwest Africa, which is known as the Eye of the Sahara. I'm going to show you that the Atlantean root epic started from West Africa and it pushed over to what we call South America. But the records, or the archaic records, tell us that the name was called Ruta or the city of the Golden Gate. We're going to get into this as we continue on. It was a hot, moist country, right? Where huge antediluvian animals lived in reedy swamps and the Romorhos were a dark race, their complexion being a sort of mahogany black. Their height in these days were about 10 or 12 feet, truly a race of giants. So we have the description of the Romorhos, the original so-called Negroes that came from out of the Tamar Nadu root epic and broke at 3.7, born in 4.1, the Patalian root epic or the Atlantean. You see down the bottom, don't you see the Tavaklis? The Tavaklis were your original. Let me go back a little bit. So we see these Romorhos here creating the Atlantean root epic, 5.5 million BCE. Remember, I broke down how we came by the way of incarnation from Elohim etheric state into the physical body, forming ourselves into the Romorhos, or what is being identified as the Romorhos, and we're starting to born out these subdivisions of ourselves. Two is the Tavaklis. These were the very first natives or aboriginals of what we call the Americas. Remember, we're talking about the Atlantean root epic. So this was roughly 2.5 million BCE. Then you see three, the pre-Toltecs. Okay, this is the pre-Toltecs, and it says Mayan, etc., etc. So I have this book here, The Children of Mu, Relics of the Diaspora from the Lost Pacific Continent by James Churchwood. So I just want to read something real fast about the Naga or the Maya Naga. It is very important. So listen to this. On page 194, listen to this. I want y'all to hear this. Okay. It says here, the Brahmas, it is well known, barred the system of cosmology and acquired the knowledge of astronomy as well as all other sciences of civilization from the highly civilized Nagas, right? Dropping down. Here, it is plainly seen that the dragging India down, and then it goes, but this is the point. It is here illustrated that when the wisdom and teachings of the Nagas were withdrawn, the Brahmins at once commenced a downfall. So we see that all this knowledge came from the Nagas. So what was the original intent of the serpent in the garden? Because the root word for Nakash is Naga, and it means whisperer and enchanter. But what is that defining in this garden of the light, Eden? It's really dealing with what is known as some people say the reptilian brain. Because when you look at your brain, it's in the form of a serpent or the limbic brain. So now we're dealing with higher sciences. Yes, Sister Napah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mighty Hebrew. Mm-hmm. I just want you to put a pin in that because I need to have a conversation with that about Jesus in the garden. Okay, I'm going back out.
Okay. Hallelujah. So we understand that Naga must mean something deeper. Here at the Mighty Hebrew University, we teach that being the limbic brain, another story, another topic. On page 212 in the same book, chapter 12, Southern India. Listen to this, y'all. The original people in Southern India were a black race called Tamals. Ethnologists have also called them Dravidians from Dravidia, right? The name gave to the southern part of the Hindu peninsula. Their original home was in the southwest of the motherland. They came to India by the way of the Malay Islands, not through Burma as did the Nagas. So we know that the Nagas were the first. Even when you start talking about ancient Kemet or Kamata, notice that they had the cobra or the Nasut on their head. Post-Diluvian pharaohs, descendants of Kam or Ham, was imitating the pre-dynastic pharaohs known as the Nagas that came from southern Tamil Nadu. That's why they wore the cobra. The Nasut wore the cobra. Go to the next slide, because we're gonna get this in. So now you see the ancient map right here, ancient Lemuria. We have to wait for Sister Napah to put the PowerPoint back up. I pray that everybody's enjoying the presentation, because we just begun. Because now the archaeology is going to come in. Go to the next slide, Sister Napah. So you see the world of Lemuria. We're talking at this time roughly 36 million BCE. And as you can see, everything in the red, people occupied these regions, which white is underwater. So when you go into Kemetic records, they even teach that Kemet was underwater several times. So this formation of Africa, Asia, Europe, the Americas is, as we say over here, while people were inhabiting this plane of existence, as some Moors would call planet mud. Okay, go to the next slide. So you can see the formation. Now I'm giving you a clearer map so you can see Lemuria 36 million BCE. As Sister Napah slides it up, you'll be able to see. You see a clearer map where you see the white. That's where all, the land was underwater. Somebody say, well, that's pseudo. Well, that's challenge academia. Let's step outside the box and use our brain of logic and reason and question the status quo or the authoritative figure, the same ones that were saved through their institutions of higher learning. Now, when you start talking about the Jurassic Age, et cetera, they put us in this mind state that these reptilians or these reptiles, they were large in size and they dwindled down in size. And we have no problem with that. And we share that idea continuously when we have these evolutionary discussions. And that's fine and well and dandy, et cetera, et cetera. And me being, the scholar that thinks outside the box, I say, okay. But then when I impose the quote unquote argument, if we can realize, recognize, and say that these reptilians were large down inside, then why can't we look at man and say, which is inclusive of woman? Because we can't forget the woman, because she was right there too. So why can't we say, if the reptiles were large and dwindled down in size, why can't we say at one time man was large and dwindled down in size? And see, when you start talking about academic consensus, now you're talking about what is known as archaeologist Michael Creamer brilliantly puts out there in Forbidden Archaeology what is known as the knowledge filter. The knowledge filter is like that big ass factory that you've seen in the end of the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark, meaning that there are proofs of existence of things, but because it may go against the standard of the institutions of higher learning, which is being funded by the Rockefeller Society and the Royal Society, they cannot put that in, even though it's recognized within academic circles as being true. But it disrupts the lineal reasoning of historical events, so to say, evolutionary events. Because if you put giants within the evolutionary structure, it's going to break it all apart. So they can't put that in it, even though they found gigantic bones. Now, I'm not saying they all real, but a lot of them are real. But how do you cram these gigantic bones within the frame of evolution when it was never placed there? Next slide, because it's about to really get in there. So we have here an image in the History Channel. We see Kamari Kadim, which is another Sanskrit word for the Indus Valley. As Sister Napah slides up the PowerPoint presentation, you're going to see that this came directly from the History Channel. And as we read about the Romorhos, and remember I said that, or the book said that they came from Tamar Nadu, or known as Lemuria. Madagascar was connected to a body of land. Okay, so we see the Madagascar Romorhos going by the way up, from Tanzania, East Africa, all them areas, till you get to West Africa, forming the Atlantean root epic or empire. So now let's get into it. Next slide. As Matthew said, yup, lots of them giants are frozen in the Antarctica. These are facts. So let's get it in. Now, we are in this mind state that there's one source to all the so-called races of the earth. I beg to differ. Over here in the Mighty Hebrew University, we teach what is known as a polygenesis. Now, I understand that you have certain scholars and scientists such as Sheikh Anti Diop and others that look at that. They say there is historical validity to a polygenesis, but the evidence of a monogenesis is more strong. It's not to be looked at in a sense of denial, but because there isn't enough information, they can't assume it as evidential in this day and time right now. But you're now starting to see modern geneticists, biologists, anthropologists, scientists, paleontologists, they're starting to lean more, and I'm going to show you, to a polygenesis. So the question is, who is Hanuman? Now, one might say, Mighty Hebrew, why are you bringing this up? Well, when you read in the Ramayana records, right, that our ancestors wrote, the ancient Hebrew Yadavas wrote, and later it became distorted. The Ramayana is the very first written documented records, along with the Puranas, that are hybridization. Hanuman is the Sanskrit word that gave birth to the English word human. Hanuman within the Ramayanian epics is talking about a being that was part human and part monkey. Hanuman is a central character within the Hindu epic Ramayana. And if you look at the word Ramayana, you see the word Maya. And the very first deity that the Naga Mayas worship was Rama, right? He is generally depicted as a man with a face of a monkey and a long tail. As you know, when you start dealing with the Euro-Gentile, a lot of these children are born with cactus tails. In the esoteric / archaic records, it is known as the Tanda buffer. We're getting to that as we continue to build. Often described as the sons of Pawan, the Hindu god for wind, Hanuman is known for his extraordinary daring, fleet, strength, and loyalties. And that source can be found in India Probe's identity card for monkey god Hanuman. That's in the BBC News. Now, one might say, why are you bringing this up? Next slide. I'm going to show you, and not this slide coming up, but the next slide is going to be so clear to you from a paleontological, archaeological standpoint. So the next slide, we see this picture right here again of Hanuman, right? And if you watch the movie series Planet of the Apes, it starts to become more clear. The movie itself was talking about the character Hanuman. And when you study the Ramayana, Rama, through hybridization, creates these monkey men beasts who in turn had their own social order, their own social government, etc. Because I'm going to show, as we're building in this presentation, the birthing of the so-called white race. What I'm saying is that the so-called white race are not even descendants of Noah, but they are a product of extinct species along with the hominoid or the hominin family, mixing, thus producing these different Pithecus, so to say. Go to the next slide, because now we're getting into the meat. So as you can see right here, what do you see? You see Ramapithecus, right? And you also see Shiva Pithecus in the source, the Better India. Now, they found bones of a primate who they identified as the first identifiable factor of ancestor of the human species. But you know what's funny about this here, family? That they identified it as Ramapithecus. And they found these bones, which are older than Lucy bones, roughly 14.5 million BCE. Rama, remember, is the Hindu deity, right? That through hybridization, Newman, archaeologists and paleontologists are identifying these 14.5 million BCE bones as Ramapithecus, right? And also Shivapithecus. What a name to call these bones. So when these archaeologists and paleontologists found these bones, it reminded them of the story of Rama through hybridization, born in Hanuman. And now you got the Ramapithecus. Next slide. So why is it called Ramapithecus? So we in the Ramapithecus encyclopedia.com. So now we're getting into the meat of the subject matter at hand. See, this is what we do at the Mighty Hebrew University, right? See, y'all, all Hebrews don't think the same. Why is it called Ramapithecus? Ramapithecus, a fossil anthropod, ate of the Miocene epoch, known from the remains found in Southwest Asia and East Africa. Southwest Asia meaning the Indian subcontinent, and East Africa, they're talking about Tanzania, okay? And probably ancestor to the orangutan. It is named from Rama, and Greek Pithecus, 8, God 8, man 8. Go to the next slide, Sister Napah. So now we in the book Legends of Atlantis, Lemuria, right? And we're in the chapter known as the sin of the mindless. right? So where's the sin of the mindless? Well, the sin of the mindless, right? You can find in what is known as the stanza of Zion records, right? And in the stanza of Zion records, this is what it says. The shameful acts of the mindless men at the first separation of the sexes. Bereshit, chapter 2, verse 7, going down, right? Zakarwa Nikiva, he created he, male and female. Remember, he separated. He took the rib from out of Adam. Now, was it a literal rib? No. The Hebrew word is zalah. That means the feminine principle that resided within Adam took a separation of 3.5 million BCE period. So we're talking roughly 20 million BCE to 18 million BCE. As time developed, roughly 17.5 million BCE, now we're talking about the sin of the mindless, because I'm going to show you that the Ramapithecus, the Shiva Pithecus, the Australopithecus, the Homo erectus, right? The Neanderthalians that have what we know as R.I.S.E DNA. We're talking the ghost gene DNA. I'm going to show you that this is a product of hybridization. Yes, the bones really exist. I'm giving you the explanation how it came about. Watch. Separation of the sexes had best be referred to in the words of the stanza of the archaic book of Zion. No commentary is needed. So we're going straight into the book of Zion. You said, are you saying Adam was Brahmin, Neanderthalian? No, I'm not. You got to go back to the presentation. I'm saying that originally Adam was etheric / etheric being that was neither masculine or feminine, but it was a various being that gave birth to masculine and feminine principle, which later became sexes. Ha-Adam does not mean man. It means the firstborn of the first blood rising with outstretched arms facing the northern star. Let me prove it. Okay. In the abstract Hebrew, the word ha or hey defines a definite article. But in the Ivrit or the pictorial Hebrew hieroglyph, right? The symbiotic Hebrew hieroglyph, we see an image of a man with outstretched arms, correct? For the ha, right? Then you, in the Hebrew archaic symbiotic hieroglyph, it's an image of an ox head that defines strength, power, first in rank, first ruler, right? Then you see the Daleth or the Da, which is an image of a doorway or a pathway, right? And then you see the Meme or the Ma, which is water waves. So when you put that Daleth in that Meme, it becomes as in the blood of grapes or Dam, blood, right? Then if you put that Aleph with that Dam, now it becomes the ruling blood or the firstborn or the first blood. Remember that Ha or that Hey with outstretched arms? So now when you got that Ha with the Adam or Ha-Adam, it's the firstborn or the first blood rising with outstretched arms. So Ha-Adam is not describing a man, but an ecological condition giving birth from the earth's surface. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about an ecology of existence. If one sphere of Ha-Adam is off, Ha-Adam ceases to exist. During the third race or the third emanated cycle of the Tamanadu or Lemurian root epic, the boneless animals grew and changed. They became animals with bones. Their bodies became solid. The animals separated first. They began to breed. The twofold man, meaning Adam, separated also from masculine and feminine principle to masculine and feminine sexes. This is easy mathematics. Yin and yang, inverted, horizontal, positive, negative, male, female, up, down, in, out, left, right, good, evil. There's always polarity and duality. When you talking about this dimensional realm of reality, we build it. We build it. We climbing Jacob's ladder, y'all. Let's climb Jacob's ladder. Let's not be stagnated religious Hebrew Israelite fanatics. Let's transform into Hebrew Israelite sovereign nationals. Okay? And they did. Now watch this. The twofold man, Ha'adam, separated also. They said, let us as they, let us unite and make creatures. They did. And those that had no spark, right, took huge she animals into them, meaning that when we were born from emanation, we were still moving with instinctive will. Remember, it says, Ha'adam has become as Elohim, as the powerful ones, or gods, knowing good and evil correctly. Ha'adam has become Manu, man, or thinkers, or conscious, knowing good from evil. Right? Watch this. They begot upon them dumb races, right? Dumb they were themselves, but they tongues untied. Remember Caesar from Planet of the Apes? Let's continue. They tongues of their progeny remained still. Monsters they bred. A race of crooked, red-headed, covered monsters going on all fours. A dumb race to keep the shame untold. Drop down. Go to the next slide. Origin of the Pithecoid and the Anthropod and Anthropod apes. The anatomical resemblance between man and higher ape, so frequently cited by Darwinists as pointing to some ancestor common to both, presents an interesting problem, the proper solution of which is to be sought for in the esoteric explanation of the genesis of the Pithecoid stocks. Go to the next slide, Sister Napah. Now, we gather from the secret doctrine and even the Tanakh, semi-human monsters described above as originating in the scent of the mindless, having through long centuries dwindled in size and became more densely physical. Next slide, Sister Napah. Right? Densely physical, accumulate into a race of apes, right? This is deep. At the time of the Miocene period, right? From which in their turn are descended the Pithecoid of today. With these apes of the Miocene period, however, the Black Atlanteans of that age renewed the sin of the mindless, this time with full responsibility, right? And the resultants of their crime are the species of apes known as the anthropods. Go to. So now, as she goes to the next slide, because I read all that, now you see diagram 11, and you see the primordial astral man. Now we talking about the missing link. Keep going, Sister Napah, until you get to that diagram, because I read all that. So you're going to see a diagram right there. You have the diagram 11, the primordial astral man, and on top is the Keta, the crown that is thought into reality, as my older brother Eliahu would say. He said, that which will to exist, right? And as you can see, on the right-hand side is us. On the left-hand side is apes, the so-called white race. That is the missing link. The missing link is the higher state of consciousness known as Elohim trickling down. Remember, Elohim was the cosmic body of us, and whatever was left or the residue that we didn't need as we born ourselves formed into the universe. Well, one might say, where's that at biblically? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 19, right? Because one might say, well, you know, anybody can just say that. It sounds good. Do you have any, you know, scripture to back that up? Sure, I do. When we understand the highest state of Tanakh consciousness, then one will get a clear understanding. So we had Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 19, which reads, the portion of Yaakov or Jacob is not like the other nations, for Yaakov is the former of all existence, and Yisrael of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name. So when it talks about we are the former of existence, it's talking about when we was in the state of Elohim. And from there, we formed ourselves. Let's even get more deeper. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter, I believe it's 32. Let me see. Verse 7. Let's go there. No, verse 8. When the Most High divided the nations, their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Ha'adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Now we know that 70 souls came into Israel. Remember, Jacob came there 1876 BCE. Joseph or Yosef was already in Egypt. So 69 souls came with Jacob. Yosef or Joseph made 70 that was in Egypt. And when you go to Genesis chapter 10, you count the nations, it's 70 nations. But the question should be asked, if the 70 souls of Jacob came later, how did the Most High divide the nations according to their number if they came later? Damn. So there must be some type of higher understanding of thought when it comes to this. So this right here, you can skip over that. That right there, I show in the Ramayana records from out of my book, Our True History, the Diaspora, and Our Freedom, that we can see in the Ramayana records, hybridization. I already broke that down, right? So now go, Sister Napah, to where you're going to see modern humans once mated with other species from Smithsonian.com. Remember, I just read about the sin of the mindless. Israel. I'm talking to my people. Keep going. I'm talking to Israel. Right? Let's get it. Keep going, Sister Napah. Keep going. You're going to see modern. Keep going. Keep going. That's my first book, cover of my first book, and it's going to be right after that. Next one, right there. So modern humans, one species. So one might say, well, you need the sources. I bet I'm sourcing it up, right? Because I know our people, they don't believe what Black people say. So it says genetic studies reveal some modern humans carry DNA from extinct hominid species, evidence of ancient inbreeding. Humanity has a filthy secret. Our ancestors used to have sex with members of other species. That's the finding in a new piece of research which suggests ancient people used to rump with a ghost species of proto-human. We are just one of a number of species known as hominins. Members of this family include Neanderthals and Denisovans, which are no longer found on Earth. It seems that inbreeding between different early hominin species is not the exception, but the norm, says Umar Gukamin, assistant professor of biological sciences at the University of Buffalo. So remember, y'all, we read about the sin of the mindless, didn't we? Didn't we read about how Rama, born through hybridization, Hynuman, which is the Sanskrit word for the English word human, then paleontologists and archaeologists, right, found in the Indian subcontinent and in East Africa bones that they labeled Ramapithecus and Shivapithecus because it reminded them of the Ramayanian root epic stories of this hybridization, right? And then we read in the Sin of the Mindless how the first twofold man, or Adam, started to mix with species and they born monsters, or these Ramapithecus, these Shivapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo erectus, etc., etc. Because we read about the Sin of the Mindless. Didn't I take y'all to Smithsonian.com? And didn't it say that genetic studies reveal that some modern humans carry DNA of extinct hominid species, right? Which we talking about ghost DNA and different things like that. Let's go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. So we're right here, right? Still talking about Ramapithecus. So we in the book Forbidden Archaeology, and I know you got some
I do. We'll
within
go
the
to the
Black
next slide. I
conscious
just want to
community
ask you.
that don't like Michael Creamer. Why?
I know we
Because
have
he
a delay.
exposes. Yes. You say something, Sister Napah? While you doing that, go to the next slide.
So, okay, I want to say, yeah, there's a huge delay, but this is great. I want to say to, first off, the people who are supporting in the house, I love the discussion. I love the discussion in the chat. Shout out to Roy Borealis, Cooking with Billy, Entourage Effect, everybody. I see you in there. If I didn't name you, I see you. I love you. Thank you for the cash out. I don't know if you want me to shout your name out on the cash app, but thank you. I got it. I love it. And Mighty, I wanted you to share your cash app with me. I can put it in the chat.
No,
could you give me that information?
Sister Napah, Sister Napah, let all the donations go to you. If you decide yourself to send me a donation, that's fine. But it's fine. This is for the people.
Okay, but I did want to, at least somebody might want to donate to you directly. This is a lot of great information.
Well, if they want to donate to me, you can, because right now I can't grab my Cash App right now. So they can send it to you, and then in turn, you can send it to me. Is that okay?
I'll get it.
Okay, no problem.
All
so
right.
Go ahead. Do you have
Sounds
anything
great.
to
Just
say
make sure you indicate
I'm building
for Mighty Hebrew. Mighty Hebrew, I did want to jump in. I'm going to go out, but I definitely talk to you. Yeah, we got a huge delay, but let's don't say anything. I'm going to say this to you. I want to talk to you about this particular, as you call it, cross breeding. I have some ideas about this as far as what we talk about, these dark watchers or the Nephilim. And I also want to talk to you about like cryptozoology, the crypto, like the Sasquatch and these different creatures that they talk about, and ask you if they have anything to do with these particular species, these beings. But later on, but I do want to jump in.
Okay. Yes. Are you enjoying this, Sister Napah? And is the audience enjoying this?
It's really great. I love it. I just, the part about, I did want to ask you too about, like, is it just white people though? I mean, aren't there? when you
No,
say the thing about tails
no,
and
it's not
things,
just, no,
I don't know about that
no, it's
part. So I
not
want to
just white
find out,
people.
why is it that we're
No, it's
looking
not
at
just
white
white people.
people?
Only reason why I'm focusing on them because they are the
Okay, I'm gonna
last
mute out and
ruling
let you just go
power.
on and do that and tell me when you want me
Okay,
to change. Talk about that a little.
okay, okay. You can go to the next slide to forbidden archaeology because I'm still on Ramapithecus. But the reason why I'm focusing on the Euro Gentile because they are the last portion of the image that we see in the book of Daniel, the gold, silver, bronze, and iron, and the mixed clay and iron. We know that the gold was the Babylonian Empire, which was roughly 586 BCE. Then the silver was the Medo-Persian Empire, roughly 4 BCE. Then you get the Greek Empire, which was roughly 332 BCE. Then you get the Roman Empire, which is the iron, which is 146 BCE. Then you get this mixture of clay and iron when the Vandals and Visigoths destroyed the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire became what is known as Western Europe. In it, we see that image of a man or a horn came from up out of the 10 and plucked 3. We recognize that horn as the United States. The 3 that was plucked was the British during the Revolutionary War, and then the French during the French-American War, right? And then the Spanish-American War. So Britain, Spain, and France were the 3 that were plucked. So now we're in forbidden archaeology. And like I said, some Afrocentric scholars don't like his work because he's contesting, Michael Creamer is contesting them. But I'm just using this as a point of reference to talk about the Ramapithecus. Listen to what it says. Let me blow it up so I can read this, so I can see. Okay, hold on. Give me a second, y'all. Okay. Ramapithecus first came to the attention of scientists in the 1930s. This creature, initially regarded as a fossil ape, was named after Rama, an incarnation of God described in the Vedas. Just like I said, right? In 1964, Ramapithecus acquired fame. David Pilbeam reconstructed the upper jaw from 2 fragments, giving it a characteristically human parabolic shape. Simmons and Pilbeam pronounced Ramapithecus to be a hominoid, an erect bipedal primate. In 1964, Edwin Simmons wrote in Anthropology, almost certainly man's forerunner of 15 million years ago. This determination increases tenfold the approximate time period during which human origins can now be traced with some confidence. This was a bit of, because between Australopithecus and Ramapithecus, there were and still is a gap of several million years in the humanoid fossil record. In any case, Ramapithecus quickly received acclaim in textbooks and journal articles as the earliest human ancestor, as Richard Linke and Roger Lewin wrote in 1977, Ramapithecus, as far as one can say at the moment, is the first representative of the human family, the hominoids. Go to the next slide, Sister Napah. So we're in the book, Human Devolution, a Vedic alternative to Darwin's theory. And in the introduction, we hear Michael Creamer saying, my first book, Forbidden Archaeology, co-authored with Richard L. Thompson, documents archaeological evidence for extreme human antiquity, consistent with the Puranas, the historical writings of ancient India. This evidence places a human presence so far back in time as to call into question the Darwinian account of human origins, right? So now go to the next slide. So now we're in bone mystery. Did ancient humans have sex with other species than Neanderthals, right? And we see, right, that the knowledge of our human origins has taken a huge leap forward after anthropologists decoded the DNA of a bone as old as 400,000 years old, revealing that our ancestors may have had sex with more species of early humans than previously thought, right? So first they told us, human beings go back 150,000 years. You remember that, Sister Nepal, with Homo sapien. Then they rose it up a little bit to 250,000 years ago, right? Between 250,000, 300,000 years. Now they're saying over 400,000 years. And remember that 400,000 years, because and another book to get when she pulled that up, next slide, is called Unveiling Genesis, Mystery of the Root Races and Cycles by Philip Lindsay, a very good book, but we're going to pass, that because I'm dealing with time. So I want to get past the points of reference of this book because I'm basically breaking it down. So we're going to hit to, okay, you're going to see an image of Prince Dr. Shaliak. Just keep scrolling. And you see Prince Dr. Shaliak saying, because you're going to see a black man with another black man next to himself. You're going to see it. Keep going, my sister. But he says history must backtrack into giant steps to come to a spiritual recounsel acknowledgement of truth. Continue on. Keep going. Right there. Of truth, which is salvation. Prince Dr. Shaliak ben Yahuda, who is the original dean of the school of the Prophet. And that's absolutely true. History, from the perspective of Hebrew anthropogenesis, it has to take a step back, or it must backtrack into giant steps, because in our culture, emanation is from the spiritual or the subjective to the objective. And what we have become, because of this AI condition of enslavement, we have become more concrete and physical manifestation and losing our spiritual substance. Go to the next slide. So as you can see, now we're getting into Atlantis at its prime, right? And we're talking 1 million BCE. Now, one might say, well, why he's showing this map? Because I want you to see the record is talking about at its prime 1 million BCE, because see, that 1 million BCE is going to be very important when I'm about to show you archaeologically. Because one might say, well, do you got any archaeological records that man was on the earth longer than what we've been taught? Academically, 250,000 BCE, we already seen that archaeologists through DNA now has traced man over 400,000 years old. Go to the next slide. And what do you see? In the next slide, you see the Ramon hole and the Atlantitude. You see this. Remember, the Ramon holes are what gave birth, right, to the Atlantean. All these were black people. This was antediluvian, but we're pushing to post-diluvian. We're starting to reach to the sons of Noah. So now when you go to the next slide, you're talking about Atlantis, 1 million BC. You're starting now to see Africa form more. As she goes to the next slide, you're starting to see Africa form more. So that was like 1 million BCE. So then when you go to the next slide, you see Atlantis 800,000 years ago. And you see now Africa forming even more. This is the very first flood in our esoteric antediluvian records. This is because it was 4 floods. So you see this flood 800,000 BCE. And remember, y'all, keep focus on the maps. You're starting to see Africa form more and more. So now you see the next slide. So now we're talking 200,000 BCE. You see Atlantis, or what we're defining as Tamana-Du. It's split Ruta and Datia. This is roughly 200,000 BCE. When you go to the next slide, now you see Post-Adonis or Poseidonis. When that next flood came, 80,000 BCE, right? Datia is destroyed. It leaves Ruta. Ruta in Greek is known as Poseidonis or Post-Adonis. So when Plato was talking about quote unquote Atlantis, he was talking about the end result of Atlantis, which is 9,564 BCE, which is Noah's flood. Now remember, I showed y'all the maps, right, of Atlantis or Patala 1 million BCE or 1 million years ago, right? So let's go to the tools of Tamana-Du. Go to the next slide. 1 million years ago in Science Journal, right? Right? Sister Napah, she's going to pour that up with the next slide, and y'all all going to be able to see. See, this is what I'm saying. People think they know what I acknowledge, but they really don't. Early Pesceline presence, right? In the hominoids or Aculanian hominins of South India, humans, 1 million BCE. Tools they found. Remember, Atlantis was at its prime, 1 million BC. Notice how I'm aligning the archaic antediluvian records and post-perfect data. So it looks like man has existed from Eastern archaeologists. They're saying that they have tools in Tamana-Du or Southern India going back 1 million years ago from early Pesceline hominids. I didn't say this. This is what they say. Next slide. Let's go even deeper because everybody focuses on Kemet and things like that. And I mean, that's understandable because you got to remember the Greeks were tutelage by the people of Kemet. And the Greek city-states passed this on to the Romans. And then the Romans passed this on to Europe. Western Europe conquered the world and imposed this idea that Kemet or Egypt was the first civilization or Mesopotamia. But let's go to Ataram Pakcom, Tamana-Du, 350,000 years ago. They find the tools. Go to that next slide. Early, middle, Paleolithic, 50,000 to 172,000 years ago, reframes out of Africa models. I'm not making this up. I'm just showing y'all the data. See, when people say, damn, you pseudo, all I'm doing is aligning our Hebrew cosmological teachings, Hebrew anthropological teachings with the scientific data that's being shown by Eastern genetics, Eastern archaeologists, Eastern anthropologists, Eastern paleontologists. I'm not making it up. Isn't the evidence right there on the screen? Y'all want sources and stuff like that? There it is right there. Go to the next slide. Well, let's go into the Indus Valley civilization, older than what we thought in your history. There it is right there, the link. It says scientists from the IIT, right? Karapar, an archaeological survey of India, have uncovered evidence that the Indus Valley civilization, right? This ain't what I'm saying. This is what they're saying. It's at least 8,000 years old and not 5,500 years old, taking root well before the Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilization. Now, did I make that up? Haven't I been telling y'all? Look, in this book right here, right, that I got here, called Yeshuvata 2000, right? Listen to what it says, right, about the Indus Valley in Genesis chapter 11. It says this on page 17. I'm reading the book right here, right? It says, this myth tells us that the people who at one time spoke the same language came from the east, which is India. We know this to be true because Genesis 11:10 tells us that this is the line of Shem. According to certain Hindu holy books, Shem, or the pre-Shemitic people from Shemjaza, because Shem, Noah's son, was the second Shem who was named after a previous ancestor that was born out of post-Diluvian 850,000 years ago, Shemjaza. This is the line of Shem according to certain Hindu holy books. Shem was the father of India. Therefore, the remotest ancestors of the Israelites or the Hebrews spoke Sanskrit, Kashmirian, and even Aramaic. So we have archaeologists saying that India, next slide, then Kemet and Mesopotamia. I didn't make this up. I didn't just, you know. So let's talk about this man right here because it's very important to understand, where this 6,000 year thing was pushed. Because remember, Ushers, and you go to Ushers Bible Dictionary, Ushers was a bishop, an Irish bishop, that the world was 6,000 years old. And he imposed this in the quote unquote biblical narrative, but it was never there. Max Mueller was one who also acknowledged that. And what he did was he learned Sanskrit and distorted the Yuga cycles that was understood to be 311 trillion 40 billion years ago to 100,000 BCE to a 6,000 year period. So here it says Max Mueller, the propagator of the Aryan invasion theory, you got to hear this, wrote to his wife, it took only 200 years for us to Christianize the whole of Africa. But even after 400 years, India eludes us. I've come to realize that it is Sanskrit which has enabled India to do so. And to break it, I have decided to learn Sanskrit. The soul of India lies in Sanskrit, right? And Lord Macaulay saw to it that the latter generations are successfully cut off from their roots. Go to the next slide, right? Here go Max Mueller again, right? He was a paid employee who translated the rag into a demeaning style. This up. The actual Aryans, black. And Aryan was a part of a caste system that defied nobility. It didn't have anything to do with race. But because cats like Hitler and all these people, they took these words. So when you say Aryan, you think of the so-called white race. When you see swastika, you think of the so-called white race. Now understanding you can find the swastika all throughout Asia. You can even find it in Kemet, in Egypt. And Fudiji showed you that when he takes people on tours to Egypt. Even Jabari, Professor Jabari, know that you can find the swastika in Egypt. Let's continue on. Let's go into the book Babaji, The Lightning Stands Still, right? Go to the next slide. Aryan invasion theory, a total misconception. We're going into the yogi, Gurunath, Sahanath, right? So let's listen to the quotation from out of their own mouth. See, I'm challenging these people. I'm going to the Eastern scholars. See, y'all want to keep quoting Western academia. Well, that's combat them. I'm over here in the East, even though I'm originally from Philly, but I live in the East now. So let's see what the Eastern scholars say about this Aryan invasion myth, right? The Aryan invasion is a misconception in the story to divide India and strip it of its own knowledge and culture, giving the credit of India's wisdom to foreigners. Where are the burnt fortresses, the weapons and relics of mangled armor? Where are the smashed chariots and bodies and invaders and defenders? Despite extensive excavation at the Haraparian sites, there is not a single bit of evidence that can give us unconditional proof of any ancient foreign invasion. Any skeletal or artifact proofs that were and are being found are of totally indigenous Aryan, meaning noble, and Dravidian origins. Remember in my rhyme on my album, and My Mental Is Never Destroyed, I said, we be noble Aryans next to our names like Ben. No, I said, we be noble Aryans next to our names like Drew Ali, Ben Ami, Harabi. You see, Aryan and Dravidian origins. It should be noted that no hard evidence has proven the Aryan invasion theory to be a fact. The recent emergence of new decades has debunked the validity of the Aryan invasion theory. The origin of this theory is nowhere to be found in Indian historical records of the Vedas, Puranas, Ikashas, but it is only mentioned in the 19th and 20th century politics and German nationalist propaganda. Come on, man. Next slide, Sister Napah. People want to know where I stand? Okay. The original Hebrews are the Aryans. We are the noble ones. Remember, it was just a caste system within the Indos that was defining nobility. That's it. Let's get it in. In the year 1853, because everybody said, source up or shut up. Haven't I been sourcing up? In the year 1853, Max Muller was commissioned by the British to write about the Aryan invasion in order to promote their divide and rule policy. He created a rift by creating his Aryan race theory as a race. When challenged in the year 1888 by eminent scholars, he saw his reputation was at stake and backpedaled from the work race, explaining that he meant to include only those who speak the Aryan language. The original Sanskrit meaning of the word Aryan is the noble one who is righteous, and it was commonly used in addressing a gentleman as Aryan Putra, or noble son. It has nothing to do with race. caste, or color. It simply connotes a noble inhabitant of Aryan Vatra, the land of India. So when the bluff was called, Max Mueller spilled the beans and admitted that his invasion was concocted and there was no Aryan invasion or subjugation of Javidian peoples. Come, man. Go to the next slide. Let's go into the search of the cradle of civilization. Now, this is an excellent book to read, right? An excellent book by PhD scholars, George Fergenstein, Shabazz Khan, and David Farley, right? I'm not making this stuff up. I'm just giving y'all the information. It's up to y'all to accept it or reject it, right? So what did I say? I wrote a little essay on this, on the book, because it was a very good book. You can go to the next slide. I said, contrary to the school book notion, the real cradle of civilization was not Kemet, Egypt, Hawash, Kush, Ethiopia, nor Sumer, but the greater Indus Valley. The book below is a must-read, Yisrael, or above, which completely revisions ancient history and cite the latest archaeological, geological, and linguistic evidence showing that the original Edenic Shemitic Indus Valley had a highly evolved Tamanadu, a Tala in Hebraic culture that has influenced the world decisively and still has much to teach us today. This book goes into an ancient Edenic Shemitic text called the Rig Veda. And now scholars are saying that this text is much older than assumed, and that this book, In Search of the Cradle of Civilization, decode the profound spiritual wisdom hidden in its symbols, metaphors, and myths. The three authors of this book also unraveled the astonishing mathematical, go to the next slide, and astronomical code hidden in the Edenic, Lemurian, Atlantean, Hebraic, Indus Valley Vedic hymns. The authors, George Fergenstein, PhD, is a world-known religious historian and yoga researcher. Shabazz Khan, PhD, is a Sanskrit scholar and professor of computer engineering at Louisiana State University. And David Farley, OMD, is the director of the American Institute of Vedic Studies in New Mexico. This book shows us new evidence that the earliest civilized fact in Rajasthan, India, dating 50,000 BCE. Also significant new sites have been discovered, such as the great city of Delavria in Gujarat, which is one of the largest ports in the ancient world, right? Excavation has started in Rakhagarhi, west of Delhi, city that was much larger than Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, from which the original Hebrews came from. And take note of these words. What a coincidence. Hebrew, Ivri, Harabu, Haparu, Harappa. And historians like Sir Godfrey Higgins have pointed out to us, next slide, names were all derived from the ancient Hebrew Indo-Sanskrit dialect, which means sons of afar. Now, Apar, excuse me. The Eastern Bible's dictionary states that the connection to Safar is in fact the Coptic name for India. Also, our forefather Josephus connected it with Kafed, an Indian river, and in part of Asia adjoining to it, Antiquities of the Jews 1:6. It was India that created and in fact colonized Egypt and Ethiopia, not the other way around. This is why the ancient Indus Valley dynasties look just like those of the pharaohs or the Nasut of ancient Kemet. The only difference is that the ancient dynasties existed long before the Egyptian dynasties existed. It existed at a time when Kemet was in fact underwater. Eberites or Hebrews, also known as the Yadavas, were a very large tribe that came from out of the ancient Indus Valley and was also known as the Haraparians. Our ancestors were speaking the ancient Indo-Hebrew dialect known or called Tamal, and at times Sanskrit. And it should be noted that Aramaic originated in what we know today as modern day Afghanistan and Pakistan. And both of these countries were once a part of India, Persia included. Also, there was a district in India called Ur on the Jumna, which many say that our forefather Abraham came from in India. There is an Indian historian by the name of Kutika Paru Sutama Khan that believes that our forefather Abraham was driven from out of India when he states the Aryans, unable to defeat the Asuras, a mercantile caste that once ruled in the Indus Valley or Haraparians, spent so much years fighting covertly against the such as destroying the huge systems of irrigation lakes, causing destructive flooding, that Abraham and his kindred just gave up and marched to West Asia. Those Hebrews, Eberites, or Haraparians that didn't leave as the family of Abraham were driven into southern India and placed into a wicked caste system that became known as the Black Untouchables or the Dalits, which is in fact the Hebrew word that means to make thin or to crush. Also, ancient sites have recently been found in the east of India as far as Lucknow. Geographers in India have done numerous studies verifying the course of the Sarasvati River. Note, some Hindu Brahmanistic traditionalists state that this river was named after Abraham's wife, Sarah, and it means Lady Sarah, and the civilization along with it, and have produced an entire tom on it, right? So as I keep going, now you can go to the next slide. So here's some source book materials you can go to. You can go to How Deep Are the Roots of Indian Civilization? Archaeology Answers. This is other source material, Debunking the Aryan Race Invasion by Dr. B.B. La. Oh, the Aryan Home. Go to the next slide. Keep going. You want to see the books. The Aryan Home, right? You can go there by Koparli, right? And that's another book that deals with the Aryan invasion myth, and he breaks down how the original Aryans were black, and that word was stolen. Then you can also go to the next slide to Tony Joseph's book, Early Indians, who were the Haraparians. Did the Aryans migrate to India? When did the caste system begin? And if you look at that picture of that sister on it, that's a black woman. Look at them thick lips. Look at that note. That if Sister Napah, if you can blow that picture up real quick so the people can see that image real good, so they can see the art of the original people of the Indus Valley and how they pictured themselves. This is a black woman right here. There's no way of getting around it. We can play games if we want to, but as you can see on that book cover right there, you went too far, but that's okay. You'll catch that back up. You see that. Then we can go to the next book, which is the Vedic people. You know what I mean? And it says invaders, immigrants, or indigenous, evidence of archaeology and literature. See, I'm giving you the Eastern source material, so I'm not making none of this stuff up. Then when you go to the next slide, let's deal with more archaeological artifacts. Let's go to the Walkar. Yeah, let's go there. We talking about 35,000 BCE. I ain't make it up. We talking about new archaeological sites in the Gulf of Cambay, India. See, y'all thought, I was going to just come up here and just speak out my neck, right? But I'm giving y'all information. You can right now type up DWARKA on your Google and it'll all pop up. This ain't something not making up. Let's go to the archaeological artifacts right here. I'm talking about archaeological artifacts. We can go into the Eldorado caves. We talking about 9,000 BCE. Archaeological sites, 12,000 BCE. We see it right there. The evidence is right here on the screen. As Sister Napah is shooting it up, you can clearly see that I'm not making none of this stuff up. All this stuff is being verified, right? So let's go to the next slide, right? I'm giggling, right? Because all this evidence is out there and ain't nobody saying nothing about the Indus Valley. I wonder why. Now, let's go to the next slide. Ancient artifacts, right? I already did that one. Go right there. Go to the next slide. You'll see it says ancient artifacts, Barana. So we're going down, up. So we see Hokra, pre-Haraparian, 9,450 BCE. And it's funny, Noah's flood was 9,564 BCE. Interesting. So 9,450 BCE shooting up to 7,950 BCE. Now we talking early Haraparian, and then early mature Haraparian, 6,450 BCE to 4,950 BCE, and then the mature Haraparian, we talking about 2,750 BCE. We talking about archaeological artifacts from different cultural levels. I'm not making none of this. Verified. Can be proven. Next slide. Because now we're going to give the chronology from the earth and its cycles. Remember that 1 million BCE and all the archaeological records that I showed to align with the Atlantean root epic right at its prime. So let's look at the evidence. So we talking about Atlantis and the fourth root race, right? Summary of main dates and the Atlantean race, the fourth root race, 5 million BCE to 10,000 BCE. So we're talking about 5 to 4 million BCE. The Removal race founded in Ghana gradually spread it over Atlantis, first recorded glacial age, right? 3 million BCE. 3 to 2 million BCE, the THEVGambino race. Just like I said, they're the ones that found it and spread it to Asia. Just right. And then when you go into 2 to 1 million BCE, we got the pre-Toltecs, the great increase of population that spread it to Mexico and Peru. 1 million BCE, the golden age of the pre-Toltecs, the great empires of the Golden Gates. Just like I said, when you go to South America, back in them times, it's known as Ruta, or the city of the Golden Gates, to 900,000 BCE. Now we get into the Preterraneans that spread it and spread throughout China. And you can go and see that in the tongue skulls, right? And then as you keep going down, now we're talking about what? 850,000 BCE. Now we're talking about the pre-Shemitic race that came by the way of Shemjaza, you know what I mean? And that was founded. And now you got the black arts starting to get rise amongst the pre-Toltecs. So the dark art or black magic didn't start in Africa. It actually started in what we know as South America, and then it came to Africa 800,000 BC, about the first partial breaking of the Atlantean continent in the Pesceline period, the Ice Age, right? And then the pre-Akkadian race starts to form. Notice I'm saying before, because they would later give birth to these popes, 600,000 BCE, the pre-Mongolian race, right?
Can I jump in? I know there's a delay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. When you say the dark arts came around, you said 800,000 BCE or whatever date you said. Can you explain a little bit more? Because you did say specifically African. You're saying that's when actual practice of magic and craft came into the earth, or how? Talk to us about that.
Yes, like when it became a science, it became a science roughly around 850,000 BCE. And it started in what we call today South America. And then later, you're going to see the Nagas and even, well, mainly a group known as the Nepals that come from out of the island of Ruta. And they're going to bring it to pre-dynastic Kemet. You see what I'm saying? And that is known as the divine dynasties. We're going to get into that. But originally, from the oldest antediluvian records, the dark arts or black magics started on the island of Ruta in South America. And later on, during the divine dynasties, it pushed into Africa. So when people try to say, oh, Africa, they started sorcery and witchcraft and etc. Well, from the archaic records, it's saying they came out of South America, Africa. Did I answer your question, Sister Nepal?
I had to come back. It's like such a delay, but this is awesome. Yeah, I just want to say, everyone, thank you for being in here, chilling out. Just thank you for letting me jump in. I know there's a huge delay. It's like 5 to 10 seconds, just like the person said. Yeah, go ahead. I'm really interested in. Is there going to be a moment when you can actually take some questions, or from maybe from the audience,
Yes,
or
yes,
even
yes.
from me? I'll let you get through all your slides. I have no problem with that.
Because
and then at the end of the day,
because I want this to be, I want this. Yes, yes, I want this to be 2 parts. So within the next 10 minutes or so, I'm gonna close. And definitely questions and answers can be made manifest. That's fine with me. And also I wanted to remind you, Sister Napok, because I can't see it right now. But when you after this is all over, could you leave the comments up so when I watch it live, I can see the comments, so I can see the questions, right? And then from there, whatever questions I see, if I don't answer on here on part 2, I'll be able to answer. Kane Akoti?
Kane, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to go back into navigating through the slides for you.
Okay.
And again, thank you so much to all of you who are here. And in advance, thank you to those who are watching the playback.
Absolutely. So, like I said, the pre-Shemitic race was founded. There were 2 Shems, but this first Shem is what started the pre-Shemitic race through Shemjaza. And as time developed, you're going to see the rise of the dark art amongst the pre-Toltecs. And I said 800,000 BCE, you get that first flood. 600,000 BCE, now you get the pre-Mongolian race. Right, pre-Shemitic ancestors rising power, and going to see this transfer of knowledge from Ruta going into Kemet, or what they now call Kemet. But at the time, that is called the Grabansi. This is before the children of Ham came. So we're talking 210,000 BCE. You see the first divine dynasties of Egypt. And some people say that the first 2 pyramids of Giza were built. Now, I know that modern day scholarship or Western scholarship make these pyramids much later, but the antediluvian records say that they're much older, and that you had the Nagas that were the ones that were the master builders of these pyramids, but the children of Ham had become given credit to these things that they didn't build. Then you get 200,000 BCE. Next slide, you see that second flood. So Atlantis breaks into two islands, Ruta and Datia. The pre-Toltec Empire to rise in Ruta. That's why when you study about the Toltecs and all that, and you see the wicked dark arts that they was doing, you said, can you prove 4 flood eras in the Americas? Oh, that I already talked about that earlier. So as we continue on to dive into this, right, we can look at the Toltecs and see that they got this from the pre-Toltecs. So then when you get into 150,000 BCE, so now you see in Kemet being repeopled or repopulated by pre-Toltecs and pre-Akkadians. Now you start talking about the second divine dynasty. And the Sahara Sea is still in existence. It's not a desert yet. Then when we start to trickle down roughly around 100,000 BCE, now you're seeing this rise of the pre-Akkadian Empire and the overthrowing of our Shemitic ancestors or pre-Shemitic ancestors in Patala, now called Atlantis. And you see the spread of black magic, and you're starting to see segregation of small segments of people migrating into different areas. And then 80,000 BCE, you see a group of our ancestors reach into the Gobi Seas. It's not a desert yet. So now you're talking 75,025 BCE. You get that third flood, and that's when Datia is destroyed, and it leaves Ruta, which is the city of the Golden Gate in South America, which Plato calls Poseidonus or Poseidonis. Now you got descendants of the Mongols going into Europe, and you know them as, you know, the Grimaldi man. You start to see the Grimaldi man, and even Sheikh Anta Diop breaks all this down in the book, Civilization of Barbarianism. And then now you see in 70,000 BCE, you see in Grabanti or Kemet again reopen. Now you're talking about the third divine dynasty, who some scholars say this is when the Temple of Karnak was being built. Then we break down 35,000 BCE. You see descendants of the Tavakles, right? Even going into Europe, which started breaking down into the Cro-Magnon race, right? You see this. Then 20,000 BCE, you get into the pre-Turanian civilizations going into the Mesopotamian areas. 14,000 BCE, descendants of the pre-Toltecs from the great empires of pre-Peru and Central America. They get conquered by the pre-Aztecs and different things of that nature. Now we in 10,000 BCE. See how we trickle fourth flood, 9,500 in BCE, right? And now we get in the Neolithic age, because Neo means new. Now a new civilization starts to begin through the sons of Noah. Next slide. You see this map here in blue and white of the ancient Lemurian Empire, right? And you see the submergence of Tamana, which is known as Pinya, the Pinya Kingdom. You see Maru, right, in this area. And it's funny, when you go into Arusha, Tanzania, we see Mountain Maru in Tanzania. Why? Because the Mongols went into that area. Go to the next slide, Sister Napah, where you see the map. So I'm leaving from this map, and now I'm going to the next map. We see it here again. Kumari come down. See Madagascar connected, and then you see the Indus Valley connected. That's the flora and fauna of Madagascar is very similar to the Indus Valley. That's why you're finding lemurs in the Indus Valley coming from Madagascar, because at one time, where you see the body of water there now, there was a landmass connected to Madagascar, Sumatra, and the Indus Valley. Let's continue on. So the Sumerian civilization originated from the exodus from Lanka in South India. That's a fact. Keep going to the next slides, right? And then we know thus the Sumerians were actually the Lankian refugees of the Ramayanian War. And that's what I keep telling. That's why the Sumerians are so much of a mystery to people, because they cut out the Indus Valley records. If you put them records in its proper perspective, they flow like water. It'll be very easy to understand these historical realities that we lay claim to over here at the mighty Hebrew University. Go to the next slides. Uh-huh. So again, you see the map here of the ancient Nile Valley, the Tigris and Euphrates, and also the Indus, Gandhi, Haraparian. Keep going to the next slide till you get to that map. You're going to see a map, right? So then I know a lot of y'all like, damn. So no, keep going straight, right? A lot of people like, damn, you know, how you saying that the ancient Hebrews are, from, from the Indus Valley? Well, this is going to be the last portion of this presentation that I'm going to show. I'm going to show classical historians. You see, it's really easy to try to debunk something through the contemporary historians. But one thing that we understand at the mighty Hebrew University, what the classical records say. And as Napah keeps shooting up, I'm just giving you examples and maps. You can see the Haraparian civilization once again, if she keeps scrolling, and then she's going to see Naga. Now, here's the definition of Naga, right? Because everybody say they Naga, okay, that sound good. That sound dandy. Keep, you know what I mean? That's cool. But Naga is Sanskrit word that means serpent. In Hinduism, Buddhism, Jain is a member of the class of mythological divine or semi-divine beings, half human, half cobra. Remember that cobra that's on the crown and the suit. Keep going. They are the strong, handsome species who can assume either wholly human or wholly serpentine form and are potentially dangerous, but also beneficial to humans. You can go into the Naga, Hindu mythology, and in the potential evidence right here, the Naga, I mean, this is in stone. This ain't something I'm making up. As you can clearly see, the Nagas of ancient India. And what do you see? You see these carved images of the Nagas. Sister Napah, she's going to slide it up. You see these images of the Nagas of ancient India. Go to the next slide. So then this is a real deep one, right? This is a real deep one. So you got the Hung San and the Tiwanaku pharaohs of ancient China, 7,500 BCE. Well, I thought the people of Kemet, right, were the first pharaohs and all that. Well, why we got images, archaeological images right here of the pharaoh? All you got to do is type up that name right there on your Google and look at it. They were pharaohs in China, 700 BCE. I didn't make this stuff up. I mean, this stuff can be verified. Let's keep going to the next slide. Now we got mind-boggling new evidence of Australian Aboriginal and Dingo mystery prove the Indian Hindu links of all civilizations. I ain't make it up. There it is right there. Y'all can say, oh man, you made it up. I ain't make it up. Thus far, I'm constantly showing the evidence. That's all I'm doing. I'm just giving y'all the evidence, and then y'all can go ahead yourself and look this stuff up. Next slide, just giving you an image of the women of India. Very beautiful looking women, the children of Elam. So look, we in Bene Israel, the ancient black Jews of India, the black Afro-Asian Jews of India. So let's peep the twist like Oliver. Let's see. Man, when I was saying to the brother Top Cat, I was like, yo, man, you know who the Yadavas are and stuff like that. And he wasn't answering me about who the Yadavas were because he didn't know. And I mean, that's okay. A lot of people don't know. But let's look at what it says in the yellow highlighter. The term Yadava now covers many traditional pastor castes, such as the Ahars of the Hindu belt, the Grivli of Mahor Rasata, and Gula of Andhar, and the Karna of Tamil Nadu, right? And they say that these words are synonymous with the Yadavas. Let's go to the next slide. Look, let's go deep. The tribe of Krishna had a name, which is very remarkable. Captain Wilford says the Yadavas. talking about Abraham, right? His own tribe and nation were doomed to destruction for their sins, like the descendants of Yahuda or Huda, which is the true pronunciation of Judah. Listen, y'all. Mr. Marcus says the Yadavas were the most vulnerable immigrants from India. They were the blameless and pious Ethiopians who Homer mentions and calls the remotest of mankind. Now, watch this, y'all. Part of them says the old Hindu writers remained in this country, and hence we read of two Ethiopian nations, the Western and the Oriental. Some of them live far to the east, and they are the Yadavas who stayed in India, while others resided far to the west. Well, let's break this down. So Yadava is the Sanskrit word for Judah, which there were two tribes of Judah. When Jacob named his fourth son Judah, he named his son Judah after the pre-existing tribe of Yadavas that existed that Abraham came out of. Remember, you got the Western Ethiopians and the Eastern Ethiopians, or the Oriental Ethiopians. The Oriental Ethiopians stayed in the east or the Indus Valley and kept the name Yadava. The Western Ethiopians were like Abraham and his relatives that migrated to what we know today as Western Asia. Let's keep going, right? Some of them live far to the east, and they are the Yadavas who stayed in India, while others resided far to the west. The fact of art of the tribe yet remained in existence is one of the pieces of circumstantial evidence which I consider invaluable. It cannot be a produce of forgery and copies, very well with the two Zions, two Marus, etc. It is one circumstance that I ground my system. They surpass all written evidence, for they cannot be forged. The immigrating tribe of Yadu or Yuda shall find of the first importance, for they are none other than the Israelites. Let's keep going, man. Come on, look at the picture. Look at this, man. I ain't make this up. These are the Yadavas. That's a picture of the Yadavas. They black people over in Southern, man. Y'all better, come on, man. There's a lot of games that's being played on social media, right? We see it right here. For this, they call Yahud, as he is so-called to this day in the Phoenician. Let's keep going. So remember when I was talking, look, and as she keeps sliding, you see this Yadavas. Look, and look what I highlighted in yellow. The Yahud, or the tribe of long before the Jews of Western Syria could have taken that name. Come on, man. I'm crushing this. There's no escape. I'm giving too much evidence. Could have taken the name from one of the sons of Jacob called Judah, the name which cannot have been first derived from him, right? Let me prove that that name is old. You remember, I think it's in the 38th chapter of Genesis. Wasn't there a Canaanite woman by the name of Judith? And isn't Judith the feminine for Judah? Come on, I ain't got to keep going. I think y'all get the point. The name which cannot have been derived from him, because it is clear that they had it long before he was born. His grandfather Isaac having born it, right? The word Jew is a merely English directly the Hindu come where it would. It is more probable that it came from the tribe of Huda, as the head of the tribe seems to have been known by the name, right? When Pari called Isaac by Yahoo, he perhaps meant Isaac, the Yadaviite, right? Or Yahoo, right? Let's keep going, right? That's just a few more pictures. Keep sliding because I'm about to close it out. Keep sliding because now I just want to give you this last little bit. Hold on. Let me, okay. Keep sliding. Yup, keep sliding. Because that's forbidden history right there, which takes India back, 30,000 BCE. But look, so now I want you to see ancient, medieval, modern, or the ancient India, a textbook of class 11. So remember when I was saying there were two ors? Well, let's go to peer review books. This ain't something I'm making up. See, y'all didn't know. Y'all thought Abraham came from the Ur Mesopotamia, but how would that be when Ur was developed between the 7th and 9th century BCE, and Abraham's older than that? So we got to be talking about the Indus Valley Ur. See how it's all making sense? That's why I asked the brother yesterday, you know about the Yadavas? Keep going, because it's going to come. Okay, so here it is right here. Right. Keep going. Uh-huh. Yup, keep going. That's my sister. There, yup. Uh-huh. There it is right there. Ancient. There it is. The textbook of India. Stop right there. Stop right there. You passed it? Nope. It's underneath, it's on lines. It's on top of black bloodlines. So let's see. Yup. That ancient India textbook of class 11. So let's see what it say about Ur. This is peer-reviewed book. This ain't something I'm making up. Okay. In this period, we come across three types of villages in South India: Ur, Sabha, and Nagramya. Ur was the usual type of village inhabited by peasant caste who perhaps held their land in common. It was the responsibility of the village herdmen to collect and pay taxes on their behalf. These villages were mainly found in southern Tamil Nadu. Checkmate. I just checkmated that whole joint. I just stopped that whole, yeah. We from Ur, but we from Ur, southern Tamil Nadu. And what did it say? How the people of Tamil Nadu looked like in the book, The Children of Mu? Huh? The original people of southern India were a black race called Tamils. Yeah. They stand correct. I'm showing and proving everything that I'm saying. So now let's go to the next slide. Black bloodlines, Abraham and the racial profile of the ancient Hebrews. Why would I sit up here online and debate somebody when I'm over here on the ground and everything I'm reading, I'm able to verify it because I'm on the ground? And this is written by Calvin R. Evans, right? So I give the table of contents, but what's important is the statement. Sir Goff quoted, Medavas were the most vulnerable immigrants in Ethiopia. They were the blameless and pious Ethiopians. They're repeating the statement where Homer mentions and calls the remotest of mankind. Part of them says the old Hindu writers remained in, and hence there were two Ethiopian nations, the Western and the Oriental. Some of them live far to the east, and they are the Yadavas, right? That's where Abraham come out of, who stayed in India while the others, when Abraham and them left, they went far to the west. Come on, man, right? The fact apart that the tribe yet remaining in evidence is one of the pieces of circumstances of this kind that I ground my system. They surpass all written evidence, for they cannot be, or they cannot have been forged. Do or Yuda, we shall find of the first importance, for they are nothing but the Israelites. Miss Norm Jews, Higgins, Sir Godfrey's Anti-Calypsis, Volume 1, page 392. Now, remember, right? This is the last portion. Remember, I was talking about classical records and historians. And remember how I keep saying the Hebrews go back to the Indus Valley? Well, let's go in his History of the Jews. The quote-unquote Jewish scholar and theologian Flavius Josephus, 37 to 100 AD, wrote that the Greek philosopher Aristotle, right, had said these Jews, really Israelites, are derived from the Indian philosophers. They are named by the Indians, Kalani, Book 122. Let's go to Clarence of Soli. He wrote that the Israelites descended from the philosophers of India. What are you talking about? Y'all making it seem like Almighty Hebrew, he just made that up. Oh, I did. Well, why the classical, historians agreeing with me? The philosophers are called in India Colonians and in Syria Israelites, misnormed Jews, right? Right? The name of their capital is very difficult to pronounce. It's called Jerusalem. We can go into Metatheses, who was sent to India by Cilicius about 300 years before Christ, and whose accounts from new inquiries are every day acquiring additional credit. He says that the Israelites were an Indian tribe set called the Kahani, and you can go to page 400 in Anti-Calypsis. Come on, man. We can go into Martin Hang, PhD. He wrote in the book, The Sacred Language, Writings, and Religions of the Partialists, that the Magi said they called their way of life Kis Ibrahim. And they traced their spiritual books to Abraham, who is believed to have brought them from heaven. Go to page 16 on that, man. I ain't got to make it up. Come on, man. And then we can go into Vladimir in the book Moses Y Los Extraterrestres, a Mexican author. Shout out to the Mexicans on this one that says that Abraham descended from some of the numerous Brahmin priests. Come on, man. I'm crushing this joint, man. Who left India to spread their teachings throughout the world, right? And in support of his theses, he presented the following elements of the similarity of names and the fact that the city of Ur, land, and the patriarchs were near the border of Persia. What are you talking about? Did not this prove that there was another Ur in the Indus Valley and that the road to India where that Brahmin had been born? Come on, man. This right here, that's go deep. That's go into the name of the Brahmins were highly respected in India. Then we can go later. They would say that the god arrived in Bradaka. Bradaka, a region in ancient Afghanistan, was the locality of the prototypical Israelite nation or Hebrew nation called Jehuda, also called Or, Jehuda, or met place to. Oh my God. Come on, man. Come on. You see that? Therefore, the Bible was correct in stating that Abraham came from Ur the Chaldeans. Chaldea, more correctly called Diva, was not the name of a Pacific ethnicity, but a type of priestly caste. Man, I destroyed this, John. I destroyed this, John. Sister Napah, right? We can stop here. We can stop here, right? And come back and do a part 2. And you can leave it at the last slide where it says the ancient archaic history of the Edenic human family and nations course. That will be part 2. Go to the next slide so you can see that and leave that there. I give all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, those striving for righteousness' sake. I say into the family, Shalom Aleichem. It's definitely an honor to be here with Sister Napah. You know what I'm saying?
I was talking. I wasn't in the show.
This was excellent.
You only have like 10 more slides. Let's finish it. Let's finish all the slides.
Oh my. Okay. So more slides. Where we at? No. Where you at? Okay. All right. Go to the next slide. So then you see the tribe of Lu, or the Brahmin and Abraham was expelled from or left the kingdom of Uda in India. Come on, man. I'm telling this. Oh my God. And settled in Goshen, or the house of the sun in Egypt, and gave it the name of the place which they had left in India. Go to Anti-Calypsis, volume 1, 405. You can go to volume 1, page 364. We also see that the Persians also claim Abraham for the founder as well as the Israelites. Thus, we see that according to all ancient history, the Persians, the Israelites, the Arabians, they all descended from Abraham, right? And we are told that Terah, the father Abraham, originally came from an eastern country called Ur of the Chaldeans or Chaldees and dwelt in a district called Mesopotamia. So he left from Indus Valley and went into Mesopotamia. I keep saying that. Next slide. And you can also go into Anti-Calypsis, volume 1, page 387 on that as well. So yeah, that's it right there. Go to the next slide. And you're going to see my picture up there. It's going to say Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationalism Rising. Next, it's going to be the next slide right after that one. It's going to say the Mighty Hebrew Israelite Sovereign Nationalistic Research Team. There it is right there. So yeah, that was it right there. I will bring part 2. As a matter of fact, Sister Napah, if you actually look in your email, you will see part 2 PowerPoint. I sent that to you too. You know what I'm saying? So you already can look at the bird's eye view, part 2. So, oh, I forgot about that. So, Dad, I forgot I put that there, Sister Napah. Hold on. So that right there, go back. So we got right here, right? You know, y'all might be like, oh man, you making up the remoals. Go right there, stop. Yup. Africa and South America are the descendants of the Atlanteans. So we're gonna go into this Nigerian scholar, Andrew Dupsakun, right? And let's go into the notes where we get, and this is the etymology of the word removal, right? See, you know, people be like, yeah, you know, you made that up, and ain't nobody else talking about it. You know what I'm saying? So let's find out. Look at the etymology of the word removal, right? It says the first root race of Atlantis was called the Removal. Who were these people, right? That's jumped down into the third paragraph. The blackout could therefore be due to an error, right, in the name of the race. We, however, struck by the similarity between the word Romoho and the word Oromio, which is in Ife, right? Because these are Ife believers. In each word, we have a recurrence of the following letters: R, M, O, A, L. H in Romoho could be I in the Oromo, if I'm pronouncing it right, in the same manner in the Brazilian name, what's that? Jarcoho, right? So it says, when the issue first came up to my invisible world, and then you got this chief Sokumbi, honorable secretary, right? They start breaking all this down and showing that the Romoho history is in Ife history, and Ife history is in West Africa. And I already showed that the Romohos came from the Madagascarian area, went into what we know as the Ashanti area from which Ife was established, and in Ife culture, they got this history. Again, giving all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers. Those striving for righteousness' sake, saying to the family, Shalom Aleichem, Sister Napah. What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? Talk to me. We done. We are done, Sister Napah. Oh man.
Hi. Okay.
Oh
Yes.
man, that was
All
a
praise to the
beautiful
Most
bill.
High. You did it. It was awesome.
Yes.
Listen, I want to say thank you to you. There might be an echo. But I also want to say thank you to those who stayed up with us. They stayed late. They were interested. I saw them conversating in the chat. So peace to all of you. And yeah, you're going to come back for another presentation. This is a plethora of very, very unconventional information, but you brought all sources. So it's going to be hard to refute this information when the sources were throughout the whole presentation. Ooh, am I echoing?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you good. I can hear you good.
Okay, so let me say this in the closeout. Thank you so much. I'll get with you, tomorrow. Find out when you're gonna come back. While everything is still hot, bring you back this week.
Okay.
I have a
Okay.
bill
And
tomorrow.
that's
I want you to tune in. I'm going to be talking to our
okay.
sister Christina Nick about the origins of Easter. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty late in the. Where are you? What time is it in Tanzania?
Oh man, it is actually. Oh man, what time is it? It's 10:13 a.m. Wow. It's 10:13 a.m. That's close out with one of my songs. That's close out with Gross Darkness, number 10. That's close out with that one.
Okay, great. You tell me what the one that we had.
Yeah, you got it.
Wait a minute.
You got all my music.
Let me
And it's in
find Gross Darkness
and it's
now.
number.
I don't think I have.
It's
Did you
number
send it to me
10.
already?
And you got my new
I know I
album.
was
Yeah.
playing it one night, but guess what happened? My StreamYard,
What?
everything was gone one day because I had to like redo it. Let me see if it's here. Let me check. Gross Darkness.
Okay.
Let me
Yeah.
see. If not, you can always send it to me. I have Mighty Hebrew. I need you to send it to me again. Wait, let me see. Yeah, I need you to send it right now. Can you?
What do you have? What do you have?
You're
What
muted.
songs
Or
do
it's
you
just I
have?
can't hear you. What in the world is
What
wrong with
songs do you
Oh,
have?
I hear you now. What'd you say? I have the whole album, but I have to go through and find it. Oh, of
Well,
yours?
pick a song. Just pick a song.
Well, let me see what songs I have of yours. Mighty Hebrew. Here it is. Okay, I'm gonna pick one. I have. Let me see. Oh Lord, let me look at my. I think I know I downloaded it. Hold on. Let me go on my computer and let's see here. Mighty. Okay, I got it. I'm gonna do music. Give me a second. Why can't I find it? Because I played it a lot of times. Why don't I have it? I just have the one that I just downloaded right now. Wait a minute. I'm gonna show everybody I do have it. They're probably like, yeah, right. Let me look at my inbox. You did send me like all your music. I was playing it back to back that night, right? With the sister, I thought. You can't hear me. Hold on.
I can hear you.
Huh. Oh, I know why. You sent it to my different email. So everybody,
Hmm.
I think I was gonna see if they wanted to ask you some questions, but without the link, if they don't hit the link, it's fine. What do you think?
It's fine. That's
I
fine with
found the
me.
songs.
Okay. Put on
Let me
number
get this
10.
one. Let me do this one. Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna drop the link, but I still want to. Oh, you said Gross Darkness. I got Gross Darkness. I have Gross Darkness.
Okay, then
See,
play
let
it.
me put the link in the chat, and then I will still play your song. And if nobody comes in by the time the song finishes, all right. Add music. Yeah, this is great. Let me get Gross Darkness right now. I know this is it. Okay. That's what you asked me to play, right? Okay.
Kane.
Do you guys not hear it?
No, we don't hear it.
Is it playing? I don't hear it. It's not playing, right? Why doing that? I still have it though. Let me do it a different way. Never, never fear. I know what to do. I'm a mom, so I have all these different ways to do things. Let me see here. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this, y'all. Watch this, y'all. Take a little here, put a little there, and what about that? Can you hear it?
Time to take you to the oscillated world of existence in pure will. Grows darkness, take the minds of people over. Vultures hunt for the blood of young soldiers. Time of the end of this world is right now. See truth is iron, break chains of bondage, destroy the blindness. As a sun, now you're rising now. Grows darkness, take the minds of people over. Vultures hunt for the blood of young soldiers. Time at the end of this world is right now. See truth is iron, break chains of bondage, destroy the blindness. As a sun, now you're shining now. There's a dark eclipse forming to a Voltron. Demon in misty darkness, absorbing screams of families bleeding. Entities are natural enemies of energies, spitting out Mother Nature menstruated spheres and infinity. Battle with Armageddon, light and shadow, fight for life that lies within the circumference of endless bliss. There's nothingness, transcend mind to timelessness. So evil ones lose their way, lost unknown of a dimensional Sephiroth, where space-time doesn't exist, known as a killer of Ezizabeth. The holy army of repattering that shatters memories to continue cycles of divine sparks that's reincarnated back into physical arcs. So Elohim can spark either lightning in the dark, form an image and likeness. Mind detect mind, and one is unblind. Our raiders and traders, the Rabbi HaMoshiach is our savior. Cause our God, the former of my mental makeup. Visions of oneness sustain my anger that lurks in the bottomless pit of our satanic strangers. Violence is sharp as a deadly razor, a venom that's dangerous. When piercing the brain image, your body breakdown is vicious. Your life caught in sand is quicker in. Your essence is now ascending to another motion of emotion. Your memory is now the logo and stories of old ones showing photos. Grows darkness, take the minds of people over. Vultures hunt for the blood of young soldiers. Time of the end of this world is right now. See truth is iron, break chains of bondage, destroy the blindness. As a sun, now you're rising now. Grows darkness, take the minds of people over. Vultures hunt for the blood of young soldiers. Time of the end of this world is right now. See truth is iron, break chains of bondage, destroy the blindness. As a sun, now you're shining now. That death be a penalty on phony MCs who can't produce a hip-hop degree, cause lacking soul chemicals in their genes. I see images of demons producing semen of false creeds to take my soul, body, mental. So my temple can inhale the wicked ignorance of deadly venoms through heart trembles, through mind control vehicles, and inject their mad drugs in me that's lethal. Now I'm seeing threefold. Waste left of toxics, Illuminati used to break the ozone. You're Gentiles die first. cause they penal glands, photopigmentone. False shepherd throw tricks to kids and they grab them. Cause they have no mind that they own. As a gold travels in the farmhouse, they get slaughtered. That's how the FBI did the ghettos, infesting it with drugs. Overseas, round table is diamond smuggling under the directorship of Caesar Rose. South Africa's leper crows. Lies must be unfold. Sources incarnated, cause of past lives that are old. 121, this Robert Job. Either Dead Sea Scrolls manifest a physical form, sworn on children of the corn. Grows darkness, take the minds of people over. Vultures hunt for the blood of young soldiers. Time of the end of this world is right now. Now, see truth is iron, break chains of bondage, destroy the blindness. As a sun, now you're rising now. Grows darkness, take the minds of people over. Vultures hunt for the blood of young soldiers. Time of the end of this world is right now. Now, see truth in Zion, break chains of bondage, destroy the blindness. As a sun, now you're shining now. As a sun, now you're rising now. As a sun, now you're shining now. As a sun, now you're rising now.
Fire. Fire. Absolutely.
All right, all right, all right. Peace. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Shalom. Namaste. All the greetings of love and light to the wonderful darkest minds of the light who tuned in. This definitely was a show for the darkest minds of the light. I see you all in the chat. I hope you have a great day. If you're celebrating this holiday, please tune in tonight. I'm going to do a little flyer in a short. I'm going to sit down with our sister, Pastor Christina Nick. She's going to talk to us about Easter. And she's asking the question, I'm answering. Is Easter really rooted in paganism? Is Ishtar the root of the holiday Easter? So peace and love to everybody. Mighty Hebrew, I don't know where you are, but I'm going to say thank you for tuning in, or thank you for coming and teaching. We'll talk to you soon. So shalom to you and your beautiful family, your wife. Peace and love to you. And family, thank you so much again. I can't say thank you enough because you know what? You stayed with us all the way to the end. I was going to drop Mighty Hebrew's information. Mighty Hebrew, are you there? Because before I kick you from the studio, I wanted to see. I'll get your information. I'll add it. I can't hear you. So
okay.
Oh, you are talking. This is my walking. I forgot my YouTube is my stream. No, I'll let you back in. You left. Okay, let me get this information and put it in. I usually say I'll put it in post production, but I never got at that. So let me get it now. Let me grab his information for you. How you can get in touch with him on Facebook. His Facebook name is Prince. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to put it. At least you can contact him if you need to. He's always available teaching. Well, not always available, but he's always willing to make it. Prince Matazar Riyam Yasharallah. Allah. All right. That is his Facebook. So, Facebook. All right, my friends. Let me share this. And I also should find his. I'm going to find his Cashapp too. 1 second. I absolutely appreciate the audience Okay, I know it's here. He has so much information that I've gotten from him because I do. I'm one of his students. I'm not ashamed to say it because the information is awesome. He's a good teacher. So, let me see where. Let me go. Let me go up. Scroll. Just, just a moment, please, everyone. Dang. Well, I might have to put that in post production. But if you send a Cash App and you say this is from Ready Hebrew, 100% I'll send it to him and his family. And that's about it. All right. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love. If you're not tired, uh, be careful out there in these YouTube streets during this hour. All right. I'll see you tomorrow.